actually have zone on the height. You can see that on your map overhead right now. Legion have the most space in the lobby, and if they can influence the fight between Endorse and FaZe Clan, that's going to be their best opportunity to win. But they have to be aware of Roadhouse. Roadhouse are down on that low ground underneath where we see the position of FaZe Clan on our screens right now, in one of those tunnels. But for FaZe, this is a golden opportunity. And with a golden G7 scout in your hands, Zane, who's been putting up crazy numbers in scrims recently, is probably thinking about getting his team out to a great start here.
The fact that FaZe have the crypto as well could just add a little bit of something to this final circle. That drone, the EMP, might just give them an extra edge when it comes to damage and just flustering the opposition teams as well. Roadhouse, they've arguably got the hardest job here because they are stuck in such a difficult position. You can see they're trying to plan it out at the moment. The Newcastle shield is going to be everything for them here, by the way. Just trying to play in front of them and give them that little bit of space.
Double queuing through to find a corner. Now they turn their attention to the high ground. Newcastle wall will go down, so the castle wall is now set up. Survivability of the name of the game here, and those sprays from the R9 from Aku, enough to focus Endorse on that high ground and force them to back up. FaZe now should be in control of that high ground fight.
Yeah, FaZe doing really well just to hold off Endorse at the same time. Sadly for Endorse, because they took so much damage, it meant they couldn't really push this engagement, and they've been backed into a corner. And look at FaZe pressing their advantage and bullying them off the high ground.
FaZe just doing so much output at the moment, and now they can turn their attention down on the low ground to Roadhouse. Most of Endorse have been dealt with. Nax trying to find this angle here. Cinetic will find one blast down as well. It's all up to Lufka as Endorse will be eliminated. FaZe just raining down terror from the high ground here.
They need to be making sure they get this done somewhat quickly because Legion Gaming at the moment are avoiding all this gunfire. And FaZe don't want to have to drop off and be vulnerable to both teams. They want to really wipe their squad before they drop. You can see they're trying to do just that. But Legion Gaming now have to press up to the hedges.
Oh, XL being popped here by Nax as well. That can be really, really influential. Roadhouse finally are eliminated. If they can get that Nox gas canister back, this should be a win here for FaZe, but they do have to drop. And when you drop, it means your guns aren't up.
EMP did get popped.
Nox gas not going to be used as yet because FaZe are doing enough damage with just those guns. Cinetic falls, but FaZe will close it out. A masterful performance from FaZe in game number one, controlling that high ground, and now can call themselves champions.
And this is the kind of performances we've seen from FaZe in scrims. And remember, FaZe need to win Pro League or regional finals if they want to make it to Sapporo. There is no getting through points. They're just not really going to be able to get there on finishing second, third. It has to be a win. And there's a big job to do if they want to catch up the leaders as well with these 3 remaining match days. So maybe they're just looking at regional finals as the realistic opportunity here, but you've also got to keep pressing and give yourself that opportunity regardless.
Yeah, I think everyone's been waiting for FaZe to do something, right? It's been like the meme, the poke the stick meme. It's been do something, FaZe. Well, doing something in game one is exactly what they have done. 12 placement points alongside the 9 kills that they got. Means 21 points in game number one for FaZe. Legion Gaming in behind them as well. Just a 3 KP for them, but it is a second place where they get those 9 points. Roadhouse coming in behind them. 7 kills down. Very impressive from Roadhouse to come out of that situation with 7 kills.
Yeah, Roadhouse 7, Alliance also, by the way, got 8 kills, even though the fact they went down in 13th position. But that's the performance that Roadhouse need. If they want to be catching up, if they want to be pushing for that top 3, pushing for the chance of getting to champs via points, they need to be dominating lobbies like this. They need to be taking advantage of the likes of GoNext not being in this lobby as well. Now, FaZe Clan, though, they were really the team that pressed on. They got that Mythic, and then they were able to just kind of walk and wander their way into one of the best positions. They didn't take too many fights around that spot. Instead, they kind of went unknown a little bit. And I think that's very important sometimes, is when there is an angle, when there is a chance for you to just sneak around, sometimes you have to just be as quiet as possible because you can find some of the best spots.
Yeah, 2.4k damage for Zane in that game as well, just eclipsing everyone else in the lobby. I said he's had good numbers in scrim as well. That's carrying over to Pro League. We'll have to see if it carries over to game 2 as well. We're going to go to a quick break. When we get back, game number 2 is coming your way.
Esports ノーダウンで倒し切ってあるぞ 3v3 のファイトただ宝を取っているのはリドルオーダー海を落としましたただそこを取り切ったリドルオーダー初戦の グレがきつくなったっていうのも情報として自分たちが多分投げたグレなんで、ただライオットドリルが辛すぎる。いやアンリミットからキル伸びるぞ。いや黒すぎる。なんだこれは。いや
Welcome back to the ALGS. Match 1 ends with a FaZe Clan win, and then you get to see more action right after that to continue on, whether they will kind of start to show up the way we've been hoping they would. Cinetic and Nags and Zane really making a show of it, Mark. It's been fun to see, and you and Dan had the call in that final circle. Walk me through what would happen.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing to look at for the viewers at home here on this final circle and how FaZe essentially managed to kind of felt like wander into Godspot was off the first and second zone pool. I think a lot of teams were expecting that zone to go down to the southwest, which is where you saw a lot of the traffic start to build up. Historically, I would say probably more of a familiar ending for a lot of the teams based on that first zone read or second zone read based off a ring console. And I think FaZe just arrived late and just got a little bit of fortune going their way that everyone had banked upon that. Maybe a little bit of that classic, oh, we see a lot of teams over here, it must be going this way. So everyone starts to kind of be influenced by everyone else's position. But FaZe, once they're in this position, I need to talk about Zane because I kind of highlighted his damage output in scrims. It has been off the charts. And if you look at the difference between him and everyone else in that lobby, everyone else in that top 3 was around 1k, just over or just under. Zane had 2.4k. That is a huge difference. And I think when you've got a player like that who's starting to find that form, starting to find, I think, a little bit of the drive back as well with Sapporo around the corner, FaZe's going to be dangerous.
He's also the type of player that we've been waiting to see him reach his peak potential. We saw a glimpse of it back at LAN a few years ago, and then all of a sudden he's really become a staple, I would say, in the EMEA Pro League, but hasn't quite found that rhythm that made us scream at the top of our lungs and say Zane with people cheering on in the background. Feels like maybe, just maybe, this could be the iteration that we've been hoping to see of him. At least I think this is the right combination of players. Cinetic, I think he had a great run last year. I was really surprised that they weren't able to make more done. They had a good LAN performance over in Europe when we visited in Germany, and I think that the other elements in LA, they were a strong team. Had some roster reshufflings, but to be with Nags, to be with Zane, I think this is a great pick. And also the crypto. I mean, this is an early crypto. We don't see every team bringing this out, Mark. How do you feel about him jumping in as well? Obviously, we got the traditional caustic ban game 1, but do you think this crypto is going to last?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I think, if I'm being completely honest with you, I think one thing that crypto really does help is IGLs who have been struggling a little bit without crypto in their composition, because you get so much free information. And not only that as well, of course, you can go and hit survey beacons. So you're going to get even more information on how you want to plan a rotate. And I think if you've been struggling a little bit to read the game as an IGL, give yourself the tools to make it easier for you. And I think that having the crypto in the composition is certainly going to give you those tools. And you can see it from FaZe there. Their walk-in that they managed to find was everything they could have absolutely dreamed of in that position. And then when you've got Nags and Hussein back, like you said, we've seen what they can do as fraggers. It's about putting them in the position to survive and do that damage. And I think FaZe, when we looked back to when they were struggling to get into top 10s in games. They would fall out on that rotate before they even got into the action. Get Zane and Nags into the game, into the end game, they will win you games.
They will, and they're certainly the type of players that have the confidence to do it. We've interviewed Nags on the land stage floor, and he's talked about his ability and his confidence. Obviously, teams and rosters have shuffled. That's what we want to bring back to. There has been the shuffling of the pack, not just in terms of the legends, but in terms of the players. This team stayed together, though, but maybe that shuffle, for whatever reason, brings them back into a position that they feel comfortable. The players around them, the dynamics of this meta. We'll have to keep a close eye on FaZe as they stick with the crypto. Synetic did a good job of last game coming out on top, and we see Nags opt for the Watson, which again hasn't been banned very frequently. Still looks like it's not going to get banned here. The Alter or the Newcastle will certainly be the one to go away. Just a matter of who's got the edge.
Seen a lot of Alter in this game. It's looking like that could be the ban. We'll get confirmation of that, of course, at the end of the game. But looking at zone, we're going towards Heights, maybe a little bit slightly outside of Heights, slightly towards the more center of that zone. A little difficult one to read. I think a lot of teams might be thinking about going to Galleria and hitting that ring console. But the danger of that is if everyone has the same idea, Galleria not the most cover-laden POI that we do have here in the on E-Districts in the ALGS. So you're going to have to be quick about it. You're going to have to hit it and then make your move off the back.
This will be the last game for Alter. As you just mentioned, we got the confirmation. 19 Alters out of 20. That's 95% hit rate for her. So clearly something
great
is...
maths. I'd be proud of that one.
Clearly, trust me, I didn't do it off the top of my head. That was Doug. He just wrote it in. Shout out to our producing team. But, you know, obviously Alter is going to be so impactful on E-District. One thing I've noticed, and keep an eye out for this maybe in game 3, is that third game before the map switch, things seem to move fast. I think it's partly because what you've done game 1, game 2 due to bans has to shift pretty drastically. 1 or 2 of your core pillars of your composition have shifted, and so now players are tested to come up with something pretty unique unless they're playing something off meta. And I think right now you're going to see that in game 3. Your last chance with Alter, who's so crucial on E-District, is ONIC. We follow along with them, taking a couple of shots outside their window.
Fun little drone as well to pop. Always a good feeling, just to give you, it's almost a feeling of safety when you pop a drone. It's just like, oh, we don't have to worry about that EMP for a little bit. We can extend out of our building just for a few seconds. This is a really good place, by the way, for ONIC Esports. This zone in particular, if it does pull this way, will finish outside of that building that they find themselves in. Another team right in front of you take Flyte. They're going to be in a really good position for this end game as well. So it's a tough zone to get into late, though. I will say there's not a lot of buildings. There's kind of a lot of shops, I think the best way to call them, on that promenade that you can see in the background, that big wall that you can play, but very difficult to hold down, especially now we don't have caustic. So the dynamic of the game is already starting to change here for these teams. 2 teams who might be fighting, by the way, cybercats Alliance, are very close to each other on the outside of zone at the moment, as Take Flight will just be thinking about outputting damage.
That's absolutely right. And when you consider what this zone is kind of brought to this in terms of the dynamics of a top team, that's Alliance, who are able to, on that western side with cybercats, kind of have a little bit of a slow, maybe easy path there. They've got a isolated 3v3, which I think if you're Effect Unlucky in hotkeys, you'll take every single day in many ways. May not even be a 3v3, might be a 3v2 before they have a chance to blink. Alter Portal to catch up. He's so close to going down. PKMK on the run from the PK. And we'll come over to FaZe Clan in the midst of another battle, taking down McLutch as well. So 2 top teams getting added. Aku finding cracked. And that is probably still no kills from Alliance, but the chase certainly happening on cybercats. So 2 teams getting into it early, Mark.
Yeah, you can see the confidence from FaZe there, right? I mean, they have a good building in zone. They also have the confidence of how game number 1 went. They didn't want to let anyone get near that building. Their immediate reaction to being approached was to force that team to fight. And if you're coming off the back of a game where you've won every fight that you've been in, you're more than happy to do that. Alliance, we're not going to be able to find the kill as yet, but still looking out for cybercats in the area. It looks like cybercats have created enough space. Yes, you can see them in the background, that Alliance are going to be able to continue their way forward. There is a ring console over in City Hall at the moment, which is probably why Alliance want to dominate that space so they can find that information out for their next rotate. SJP2, a little bit of a tight spot here with zone closing behind them.
Luke, it is, and you can see SJP2 popping that Phoenix Dinze. One of these runs here is okay, and you look at the meds, Mark, I feel like they feel pretty good about that. We saw this the other day where working with 2 syringes and a dream, that is not going to be a good game plan. But another team here that we talked about earlier, it was match day 2 that I brought them up after a really strong performance on match day 1. It's Killer Whales. They've kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit. 18th, only 1 point, but rocking that bow check bow and doing their best to do some damage from afar. It's just one of those things where there are not sometimes these easy routes in, and that's where Alter, that's where Wraith becomes so invaluable on this map. And you see, if you don't have it, they don't have any of those characters, it's just very difficult to find those little angles away from the traffic of the bullets coming your way.
Yeah, the Killer Whales looking like an endangered species right now, if I'm honest, because they're down to just 1. It was interesting to see, by the way, that they actually changed their composition from the ultra aggro comp to one with Newcastle in it for game number 2. So obviously they felt something was missing and didn't go right in that first game. Citadel Gaming, you can see, laying the trap. But not finding anyone at the moment. SJP2, though, got to be careful. They're getting in a little bit of a pinch here. There's a lot of teams on this southern side of zone at the moment, and if you're not in a position where you've got cover, you can find yourself in trouble, but they're going to be able to take the altar port to at least try and reset here.
And having the Newcastle is massive in this situation. Not only are you going to get a little bit of that extra heal back up when he does get the res, but you're going to have the shield to protect you. But this is a tough spot. Citadel Gaming know that they've got to clear out this threat. So there's really just not a lot of choice. And I do believe this is going to spell the end of SJP2. Dinze goes down, and that's an easy one there. Following up on Kearney with the PK. That's going to be SJP2 out for the count. As Citadel Gaming rack up 3 more, and they clear their backside.
Look at this comp. Game number 2, Citadel Gaming, by the way. Alter, Seer, Maggie, and you've just seen why Maggie is so good. The riot drill to force the last remaining players of SJP2 to not be able to peek, and then the Maggie ball, the wrecking ball, just launches the player into the air. He's stunned, and is the easiest kill you will ever see in the ALGS. So I love what we're seeing from EMEA here. A couple of these teams really trying to mix up their compositions and not going with that familiar flow that we see. They're really trying to kind of catch people off guard here.
It's right in line with the theme, shuffling the pack, but also the rise of these counter comps. We saw this with Shopify Rebellion in the Americas, but now I think Citadel Gaming's in a great spot for us to see as a bit of a test run, a theory on display of will the Seer and Maggie disrupt a lot of what the EMEA squads are bringing to the table. Typically, though, we see it be so effective against the Gibraltar, but there's hardly any Gibraltars in this. There are 0 Gibraltars in this lobby, which is also, I'd say, Mark, pretty surprising given the way that EMEA and Americas went yesterday, and it only being game 2.
Well, as we see the map overhead, that's pretty much where we were expecting this zone to be pulling, and I think a lot of teams would be a lot more comfortable with where that zone is pulling. Ronin have managed to get the reset here. They've got MG Clutch back into the game, and they found themselves safe inside of this next zone as well, and they're trying to force the ZiPLina Mafia away, and they're actually just going to slash him down. MG Clutch got taken down, but now he's taking down players. Excuse, he's going to go down. They will be credited with that kill with the R99. And now Ronin probably thinking about looking towards that ring console here at Galleria. You can see there's attention towards a team that's already over there. And if they can find a pick, then that will be theirs.
It's a big rotation that needs to happen. Man, it's been a while since we've seen that exhibit, huh? On full display, and so is Arctic. On the wrong side of that, you know, Citadel Gaming is in the mix when the Seer shows up. And Empire Gaming feeling the hit of that. And you talked a little bit about this, what the raid can do, some of the pressure. It can force players into other players. Empire Gaming have to retreat, eliminated now by cybercats who hold that area. And now Citadel Gaming pushing onto them. What can the Mad Maggie do? It's not going to be too helpful to have that Rampart shield. And Ranches goes down again. Citadel Gaming flying. Oh my God.
I mean, poor Ranches, man. He just exploded. It got pinged by 3 players at the same time. You just don't have a chance. Even on Wraith, couldn't hit the Q, couldn't do anything. Just annihilated. And again, you can see Citadel Gaming what their game plan is here. If they get an opportunity, they get a damage advantage, they're going to push.
Well, also, I just think we forget, and a lot of this lobby, they haven't forgotten, but they're hoping that people don't remember what it feels like to get scanned. Because you don't just sit where you are, especially in E-District when you're out of a building, when you're on rotation. You get scanned, you know that exposes you. You know that people are planning a rotate to take 2 good angles on you. You kind of have to move. And in a way, that forces the enemy teams to make decisions they don't want to make. The pressure from Seer, yes, it is something that is active, but it's also something that's a bit passive just by the nature of him existing. It opens space up for Citadel Gaming, and I love the fact that they're just saying we're going to play edge, we're not going to jump into the zone, we're a little bit late, and we're going to pick fights because no one's in a good position here. No one should be able to have more information than us, and if it's a crypto team, cool, but they're going to be slower than what we've got going on. I love it. As SPS also trying to get on the board, but they've lost 1, trying to stabilize here with the Newcastle.
Down to 2. Something to highlight here as well, just like you're talking about with the Seer Q, with these static compositions, a lot of it will be based around a Newcastle getting his Q down. If you get hit by the Seer Q, you get your hands tied. You can't get that Q down, and then the opportunity in that window to push evolves and presents itself. Tamuchi will go down here, and SPS will go down. ZiPLina Mafia also fallen on this southern side. By the way, the zone has completely shifted to the northern side of where we saw a few moments ago. Wow. And Kilaueos, King Victor, still alive here, still causing problems.
King Victor knows that they've got to do their best just to grab a little bit of KP. At this point, it's not on display, so he's got to run. Unfortunate. Should spell the end of Killer Whales unless we see a miracle. We'll kind of keep tabs on that in our top right corner and see if he goes down to the ring or another kill there. But Ronin, another team, winners of our first game in match day 6 yesterday. Day 1 of our doubleheader here in the ALGS. Trying to stabilize yet again. FaZe Clan, our previous winners of today, are looking pretty good. And honestly, that shift really helped them. They've got this entire building set up. They're going to survive the next zone and have a pretty easy walk-in into the zone after that, Mark. So if you're a FaZe Clan fan, I think you're feeling pretty good about their chances.
Also Alliance, one of the teams who had the furthest to go to this zone, now the only team within it. So that's what zone shift can do, and we're seeing it more and more on E-District specifically as well. We're seeing these ping-ponging zones 4, 5, 6, where teams think that they've got a good spot, and then all of a sudden are forced to have to make a play and adapt to where the zone is going to be going. At the moment, on this, to give you context on the map overhead, as we see a fight breaking out here on the low ground between UAIM very, very quickly as these thermites come in. There's only 1 team on the northern side at the moment, and that's Alliance. Everyone else, basically, apart from FaZe, is on the southern side.
And if I'm Citadel Gaming, I'm loving this. If I'm UAIM, I'm hoping that I can finish this off, but it's not going to be enough. And Calamity and Blooming Flower will hold that down. FaZe, Zane, they've got the benefit of the building, and they know that teams are going to be starting to move in on that east side. And that means that they could just pick off with the G7. A little bit of action from Phoenix and Endorse. Again, on your kill feed. Passion going down as well. Last picking up a kill for Roadhouse. A lot of action here as those teams are moving into the zone and kind of on the outskirts of the southern side. Right here over the top, you get a glimpse of what I'm talking about. The action here in 07 found a little corner. Tyler FPS. Whoa. Say hello to a grenade as 07 say 07 to the lobby.
I think 07 wanted to pick up Tyler just to give him a bit more firepower. The problem is they're just not getting great spots at the moment. Citadel Gaming, with this composition though, are causing havoc in this lobby. Zuni, one of the most fun players to watch in the ALGS. If you haven't watched his POV, well, now you're going to get the opportunity to. He's not quite connecting yet, but he doesn't need to because his teammates are wiping the floor with NOMB. Nom are numb to the lobby. They're gone.
This is such a good composition. You saw the vision that they were able to get from Remix Powers, and then Zuni knows now that they see exactly the health bars, how many players are there, when it's time to go and use the alter Q. Passes through the dimension so quickly and takes the rift so that they can capitalize on the exact moment. It's just a composition that this lobby isn't prepared for. I'm surprised that we haven't seen teams adopt Seer and they've been resistant to it. I understand why, because if everyone's doing this, it's a completely different game. But my goodness, Citadel Gaming, while the getting is good, they are certainly getting it.
A couple of teams have been eliminated in the last few seconds. Take Flyte, ONIC, and Endorse have just gone. Roadhouse won their fight. Citadel Gaming continuing to take theirs. 3 KP already just for Zuni. 10 KP overall for Citadel Gaming. They are frying in this lobby. Legion Gaming will go as well.
Zuni still alive, but it looks like Remix Powers has fallen. The power of their Seer, it could come crashing down with FaZe, the giants of this lobby, saying, we know you've been doing some work over here. We got to put an end to it, because sooner or later, the axe is going to turn towards our direction. Kaisha still alive. Citadel Gaming eliminated, but not without taking down so many other teams and earning 20 points overall after 2 games. They're going to be happy about that, but FaZe Clan still in the commanding position to your kind of eastern side. You can see the zone here on your upper left part of your screen. Cybercats Alliance in that middle of the zone, but FaZe Clan still holding the same building. Oh, Mark, they're sneaking in.
Sneaking in. FaZe have just been brilliant in the last few seconds, by the way. I want to talk about it very, very quickly because they have done what you need to do if you're holding a spot, and that is clear your side of zone. They have completely cleared the likes of Citadel, who were going to be their biggest threats, and now they don't have to worry about their backs. And you were talking about their walking being safe. Well, now it's even safer because they only have to focus forward. Cybercats will go as well.
And that's FaZe on a rampant run. 4 squads left. I'm excited to see how they manage this. Let's go ahead and listen in with FaZe and see how they handle this final zone.
They have to come, they have to come.
Yes. Yeah, they're triple on the queue, they're triple on the queue. You can kidnap.
Oh, that's so annoying. Play here, maybe? No, no,
Let's get these kills and get second.
Right.
Make sure we get second here.
Yes.
They don't have to jump, they don't have to jump. They're in on bridge.
Yeah, we just chill, Just don't take a lot of damage.
Really bad, I'm not gonna lie.
They're going forward. We need to make them not do it. We need to make them not do it. Yes. Pick them.
We have no gun,
Okay, it's fine. I'm for the ultimate. Play on me. Good on me, boys. Good on me.
I'm backing up.
It's fine. Come back. Come back.
Incredible stuff from FaZe, trying to apply pressure from a distance. They got the right weapons for it. G7 Scout poking, prodding on that eastern side, saying do not come any closer. But the teams that they're talking about not going to be so easily persuaded. An Alliance, and of course, Roadhouse and Ronin.
I'd say probably the 4 most consistent teams in EMEA. If you throw Go Next in that conversation as well, find themselves postured against each other. Alliance, who somehow found their way from their POI to their God spot, now have all of the height to play with as well. Hack is commanding space as well. He's trying to put damage onto FaZe. He's trying to make sure that they are forced away from their position as Rodin decide, hey, we want to try and play, maybe not for the win here, but certainly for some extra placement and extra KP. They are flying in on the low ground, and Roadhouse are taking damage.
That man Maggie Q is going to be a day late and $1 short. FaZe are swinging on him, but what's going to be the response? Ronin eliminated after that aggression, and it leaves Alliance from the top ropes to come down and try to answer the call. The Giants have been swinging. Oh, but David responds, and FaZe are not able to get the job done. Alliance come back on top and say we belong right in first place.
Fantastic job from Alliance, all based off of that zone pull. They had God spot and they converted as well, and I think you heard from the listening, the very brief one that we had with FaZe. He gave us great information on what their play was. It was, let's try and play for second here. We know that we're not in the best spot for this final zone with how the teams are positioned. So FaZe coming out of that with KP, second place. Great game off the back of a winning game number 1. And like you say, Alliance, the powerhouse, they're in the conversation as well there with a big winning game number 2.
It's funny to look at a lobby and, you know, it's not actually so strange to see Alliance in a position where they're not leading out the gate. They are a team that sometimes has started slow, but we know they always end up with some of these major wins. This was a big win, and I think just getting them going was huge, especially before another game in Storm Point. But FaZe Clan, because of those choices that you so appropriately mentioned, Mark, sacrificing the overall status of first place for maybe a more efficient second place win, they might have been able to stay at the top of the lobby. It's gonna be very close as we take a look at some of the head-to-head matchups. Alliance and FaZe really putting on a show here. FaZe mostly with 11 kills that game in match 2.
Yeah, and coming out of the game with more points than Alliance as well, due to those 11 kills that they managed to get. And I think they look fired up. They look like they have a very simple plan today, and they have a very simple objective they have to achieve to get to Sapporo. And at the moment, FaZe are performing 20 kills in 2 games. That is phenomenal. Look at the rest of the lobby. 41 points overall. Shout out to Citadel, though. That was a big game for them on the KP side of things. They had to fight through so many teams on that southern side where all the traffic was. So I think they'll be pretty happy being in 4th place overall off those first 2.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. I mean, FaZe, they have kept this up. They've built a lead now with Alliance even stepping up with the win. This is the type of match day FaZe seem to be built for. They've already gotten a win earlier on. Can they keep it up with the points to separate themselves, maybe take a first place? All that to be found out as we head to our final game of E-District after this.
The Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back, you lovely bunch. It's the ALGS, it's Pro League, and boy, are the big boys performing. FaZe take game number 1. Alliance answering back, though, in game number 2 on E-District with a big win. But Dan, I think the conversation has to be, we are seeing the rise of the counter comp. I want to talk about Citadel Gaming a little bit and what they were running in game number 2.
Yeah, we are starting to see teams now try and go against the grain here. Try and find a way to break through what we've been seeing about those teams just kind of setting up, bolstering down, and then instead you go for something that can actually wipe them out and take them out of that position as well. And what I'm curious is to where people go now. Alter has been banned as well. There's going to be a lot of potential for Wraith to come into the equation, which is something we've seen a lot of, especially in scrims. Wraith actually got banned at this point, but as we look back at some of the highlights, we can see, you mentioned it, most of our top teams were in this final circle. We were looking at the best of this region, all competing as the last 4 squads here.
We certainly were indeed, and Alliance getting into that position on the northern side being the benefiters, excuse me, of the zone pool that went their way. The benefiters, don't know if that's a word, but it sounded posh enough that it might just be. Ronin obviously decided their best bet here is to try and play for placements by wiping a team. I think they also recognized that FaZe were a duo, so if they could jump upon the team that was below them, win that, they might be able to win the next one as well. But FaZe, we heard from the listening as well, where they were playing for second, and as Ronin went down, Cinetic was left on his own. Alliance don't lose these. It's as simple as that. If Alliance lost this, I would do something that I won't do. I don't know. I couldn't think.
Just something you wouldn't do. What wouldn't you do? Popular legend to just give you that ability to kind of transition from point A to point B, and it looks like that is going to be evident here as well. So just like scrims, we are going to see 16 Wraiths, and Wraith will be banned going into match 4. But what that does leave, Mark, is it leaves Newcastle up.
It does, but is Newcastle feeling, are players feeling as confident in Newcastle in their composition now that we're seeing the likes of Maggie being picked? It's all of these interesting factors that are starting just to pose some questions to teams, coaches, analysts of how they want to approach these games, and also what to expect as well, because there's been a few times, I think last weekend I noticed there was a few bans that caught a few teams off guard, and they were like, oh, okay, this has been banned early, or this hasn't been banned early, now we have to play it. It's very interesting game of chess that's developing in these legend bans, and I also think there's a few teams who are probably playing certain things in scrims with one eye on the Pro League day, thinking, this is what we think is going to be played. How can we play around that and get more games with not just a comp, but also one that's going to maybe counteract what we're expecting to see?
And then it becomes 10 times more interesting when you get to international competition. As I was already mentioning, it's very different from region to region. If you look back at last week, for example, I'll use Crypto as an example just because it's the most different, but APAC South banned Crypto Game 3, APAC North Crypto Game 4, America's Crypto Game 5, and EMEA didn't ban Crypto at all. So if you then take that to international competition, who knows where Crypto gets banned? Suddenly, you can't really plan for it. And I know we have a bit of a gap between the end of Split 2 and Champs, so there is going to be a difference in terms of what the compositions are going to look like, but that's still something that's very evident. Going from scrims in your own region to then scrimming in international competition, trying to plan around legend bans is near impossible because different regions seem to have a very different playstyle.
Well, looking at the zone, it's going to be another E-Bank one by the looks of things. And you can see 07 moving from draft point immediately. They had console, so that's where they're going to be playing down on that southwestern side, much like they decided to on game number 1. But we did see a little bit of a funky pull that time. It's going to be interesting to see if it does go a little bit more traditional here in comparison to what we saw on game number 1. It looks a little bit more westerly, I would say, in comparison to that game number 1 zone that we saw that pulled a little bit more central. So 07, not second guessing their position they want to play based upon what happened in game 1.
That would be such a difficult zone to call, by the way, if you didn't have ring console. If I looked at that, I'd be thinking I'm heading more west than anywhere. And like if you were playing the guessing game where you have to just guess off zone 1 info. So anyone who doesn't have ring console probably is going to fight for a ring console here, because I feel like this is a difficult zone to read just off face value. And that's where we're seeing actually, I think 3 teams on the western side of this map at the moment, all kind of transitioning towards a ring console to see if they can get that info.
It's interesting as well, because I imagine a lot of teams who are rotating towards Energy Bank are thinking, okay guys, we'll hit console here, then we'll plan. And they're not going to be aware there's going to be a lot of teams already there And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, we're not as comfortable as we thought. And you can get picked off very, very easily, thinking that you've got all of the space to play with teams potentially heading west. So yeah, an interesting zone to say the least. It's going to certainly challenge the IGLs on their zone 1 read, or how they plan to hit one of those consoles, like you say.
Yeah, I mean, full SJP2 and SPS are all west over towards Blossom Drive and surrounding areas. And they all were kind of doing the same thing, looking to see if they could get info, but also probably playing off initial thoughts of, yeah, this is probably moving a little bit further west. Now ONIC are going to get a big chunk with the PK, and sadly, King caught out and caught with his bad sound.
9 Bongo. He's going to be food here for Zidane. Yeah, Zidane made it interesting, but he was never going to lose that one. Killer Whales have been eliminated. That's 3 games in a row where, unfortunately, they have just been kind of feeding the rest of the lobby when it comes to kills. Not really able to have the impact that they would have wanted to. Another fight, though, that's breaking out is SJP2. They're down just to the north of Street Market at the moment. Is SPS who are on the other side of this. Lots of S's involved in this fight, Dan.
Yeah, these are the same teams that were up towards Blossom Drive. They've been transitioning south at the same time. Both of them went for the ring console. I don't think either of them actually got the info they wanted because FUL were already there as well. So now we're just getting this scuffle on the left-hand side that isn't comfortable for anyone. None of them have info. None of them got the ring console that they wanted. So now they're kind of just fighting and posturing up against each other and wasting time, essentially, because all the other teams that do have ring console are going to be able to get so far east over towards the middle of the map that these teams are not going to be able to get into a good spot at all.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a rough one. You can see now one team at least is going to be able to hit that console. That's going to be FUL, actually, who's up on the high ground. So we were talking about SPS and SJP2. Well, they disengaged, and one console has been found. And I'll be interested to see if SPS try and play for the console or off of FUL's next play. Because if they don't move here, FUL, for a little bit of time, they don't try and rotate, then maybe SPS are going to think, maybe Zone is coming here.
Yeah, I think FUL hit that ring console and suddenly they turn into FML and they're thinking, how on earth are we going to get across this map? Now, this is not where we thought it can be. And now the cybercats are also joining them over at Blossom Drive, by the way. So cybercats hearing this gunfire and also probably wanted to do something similar with that ring console. Suddenly, for no reason at all, we've got 4 teams on the western side of the map.
Well, FaZe are in a great spot, and they have been in good spots for games 1 and 2 and been able to convert it into a 1st and 2nd place respectively. So that's 2nd place as well. Not just a 2nd place, he got the most points in the lobby due to the huge amount of KP that they have taken home. 41 points, Dan, after 2 games. It is the perfect start for FaZe.
And as I said, like, we've seen this from FaZe in scrims. Like, I often will post the results of scrims to you of just where these teams are landing, and I've seen FaZe number 1, number 2, number 1, number 2, and they need it. They need to be playing this way. They are so far off champs qualification just through points that they have to be winning Pro League or regional finals, and I think they're setting themselves up nicely, because even if they're not going to win Pro League, let's say they don't catch up the likes of Go Next and Alliance, going into regional finals, when you look at how FaZe are performing, you genuinely would believe they have a chance to get that miracle run to get a spot through regional finals. And that's what it's about for them. It's just putting themselves in the position to potentially win it and having that confidence in themselves and in their ability.
It's interesting as well, if you think about what they have to do, even if Alliance were to go on and win Pro League, you know, that means there's potential opening up of a spot if you don't quite manage to get it done in regional finals. All of these things add up. All of these things add up. All these permutations are very interesting to keep an eye on. So I think the big thing for us is, like, who's in form heading towards that regional finals in a couple of weeks' time. That's going to be a hell of a day of action in the ALGS with Sapporo qualification on the line. ONIC, though, they're going to have to retreat for now. They're outside of zone, just outside of draft point at the moment. They've got Nom behind them. They've got SJP2 have now moved from that western position, probably, again, looking for that ring console to find out where this next zone is going to be going, because they don't have that information at the moment. But where the zone is going down is towards the southwest here of Energy Bank. So a more traditional read that's paying off for these teams.
So SJP2, after their conflict on the western front, now they have to move a little bit further down to the south side. And they're the first team to run Pathfinder in this lobby as well. They're the only Pathfinder, may I add, in this lobby. And we'll see whether that can help them transition from point A to point B here, because that zipline can be very important here on E-District in certain zones. Sometimes it's negated completely, other times it can just be the perfect thing. That's the funny thing about Apex Legends is there are niche situations where you're like, oh, I wish I had this legend, or I wish I had that legend, or I can't believe they had that legend here.
Yeah, well, thank God we've got this legend.
Yeah. And then you go into the next game and you're like, all right, okay, we should have played this legend. Let's play it now. And then suddenly that niche situation doesn't arise. So you have to be on something that is going to provide the most situations possible rather than just that one niche scenario.
Of course, Pathfinder's going to have the ability to hit those survey beacons as well, so that'll give you a little bit of extra information. FUL, though, have moved through the wind tunnel. They're having to hold out a team at their back at the moment. Really good position to actually hold for the longer game here if they can hold this. Is probably one of the easier chokes to hold. You can see the advantages they have with height. They can get a gen down as well. Probably just waiting to put that gen down at the moment, Kuro, just based upon trying to get a read of what composition is coming their way. If there's a Maggie or a Crypto, they probably want to wait for the EMP to go in before they get that gen down so they can get the most efficient usage of it before, instead of it just being destroyed by that EMP. So pretty strong position for them. Nom, though, not so much.
No, they're holding it. They'll be all right at the moment, but it's about where they go from here. But that's another reason why Wraith is going to be so popular here in this lobby and very important as we get our first exhibit of the game. Oh, and I tell you what, it follows up with some pretty impressive PK shots as well.
Alonzi, though, is not going to be able to fire his gun again. Ranches and PKMK going to be the last two on their feet at the moment. Alonzi's going to be res, though, and he'll be back onto his feet. SJP2 taking this fight inside of the building, and they're going to get a big chunk here. It's going to be Denze, who actually finds two on the Pathfinder here. That is a clean wipe. Nom bomb in that fight. That's going to be a straight win for them.
Yeah, they didn't even get the chance to utilize a Wraith portal there to get into zone. But sadly for SJP2, they might be having to fight tooth and nail to stay alive here as FUL are trying to push up. Again, this is a fight that was happening over on the western side of the map, and now they're fighting yet again. But actually, it could be a good distraction. They're trying to hold here so the mythic bin can be picked up.
Yeah, FUL have the positional advantage. Problem is they don't have an armor advantage. You can see they're all on blues. Now they're up to purples, though, at the purple time as that mythic bin does get popped, and now this fight becomes heavily in the favor of FUL. Funny how these things can change on a dime.
And they do just retreat, mainly just to get the rewards from said mythic bin as well. Gold PK, etc. Take Flyte do get eliminated in the meanwhile. It looks like FaZe were able to take them down on their journey, so FaZe continuing to dominate from the north. And we might get a similar situation where FaZe arrive from the north and they're pretty comfortable towards the late game yet again here.
He's looking a lot busier, though, on that northern side than it is on the southern. SJP2, they're going to hit the survey beacon now, so they'll see the lay of the land and how they want to play. Alliance, at the moment, holding down the choke. Most of the traffic on the map overhead you can see at the moment is on that northeastern side and the north. So you're looking at FaZe's position here. It's a tough one. I've got to be honest with you. They're going to have to work very hard here to get into a good game-winning position. Whereas Hackis, he's found a Kraber. And let me tell you, in this man's hand, it makes the path a lot more comfortable if he can hit a couple of shots.
FaZe did just get a knock onto cybercats, so that pushed them away, which means that FaZe might have a straight 3v3 against Roadhouse, who just respawned. I think Blast just got respawned for Roadhouse, so FaZe might have the advantage there. Just the respawner not going to have as many tools, perhaps, in his arsenal. But yeah, Alliance holding that western side is definitely going to make things awkward for those teams, especially with the zone transitioning south. You've got the likes of ONIC and 07 are going to be a spot. Now SJP2 pushing up.
Yeah, this is an all-in fight here. Denze misses the first shot and is going to cost him. Kuro on the Watson will be able to get the damage down. Kuni now left on what could be his own. In fact, it's going to be Kylar who's last alive. It's a 1v1, I believe. Beansy will win it, and he'll be able to drag his teammates back onto their feet. So a comfortable hold there. SJP2 all in on that push. Not going to be able to make it work.
Cybercats off the respawner, suddenly straight into this fight as well, seeing this as a potential chance to re-loot and also take a good position away from the team that was struggling coming through that fan. But Empire Gaming, all the meanwhile, they were holding this spot, and they're going to be able to sit quite pretty with the base they've been able to build with these barricades.
Refreshing the Newcastle's wall as well, just to get it energized. Cybercats have been eliminated, though, so they're not going to be able to make it towards this end game. I'm not sure if they're quite safe in this corner, or if they're just about in. And having used the castle wall, Next rotate might be pretty rough for them. You can see the portal is going out to try and find a way towards zone as we see Kuro in the feed once again with the 30-30. Get it up.
Well, they go out. Arctic uses the portal, but is going to have to go back. And yeah, I don't think they are safe. They will be very much burned by the ring. Now, I was saying Roadhouse had lost one, and they got the respawn, and FaZe might be able to take that fight. Well, FaZe have taken the fight to them, but it looks like with Cinetic going down, they are reconsidering and looking to try and just bypass them via the Wraith here, but with both going down, that Wraith portal is not going to help.
And if anyone can jump into the port, doesn't look like it. It looks like they're going to be finished off here. So Roadhouse will get the better of FaZe in that situation. Zane is going to have to try and rat to some points to add to the KP as Hackis was involved in that little scuffle with his Kraber, which is still in his hands. But Overflow as well by the looks of things, which is going to get him back up to health extremely quickly to be involved in those fights. And Alliance now just looking to hold out this north side of zone, excuse me, before they walk in towards the safety of where that zone is going to be pulling.
Yeah, Alliance will now look towards Roadhouse. Skynade versus Skynade. Hackers avoids his, doesn't connect with his own either. So instead, it's just going to be an outright gunfight. But I know which gun I would rather have in my hands, that's for sure. But it looks like Alliance might be distracted here because there's teams joining them, and Roadhouse, they do the dipsy doodle, and they go the other way through the portal.
I mean, Hackis is giving a great display of what you can do with Wraith in the current meta as well. You can take so much space. You can be so dominant. And when you add Overflow as an amp to your Wraith player as well, it means the ability to heal over time and get back into the fight is just so drastically reduced. And now Alliance, as Roadhouse are eliminated thanks to Hackis with that Kraber, control essentially the majority of the northern side of this zone. Ronin though taking damage, Nate left on his own.
Yeah, so many teams having a do or die moment here, and Nate will get eliminated. Ronin out. Passion also go down. 10 squads now remain as UAIM look to try and clean up, but it's so hard fighting over these Newcastle walls and ramp up barricades, as now Max Strafe is going to be the last one. UAIM do go down, and it is an incredible hold from the Newcastle wall, but now there's another team pushing.
Yeah, it's a Citadel gaming. A little bit of a change in the composition. Watson going to be there this time, but Kaisha is going to be left. The only full shielded player and the only player alive. Now he has to go nuclear. Can't quite do it.
Endorse still alive.
A Citadel will go down and Endorse will be, like you say, eliminated.
Jesus, I mean, Endorse just held off 3 teams, again, showing the strength of the Newcastle plus Rampart when you get into a position. But 07 capitalizing and being the last of the party there. Now they will have the majority of this eastern side. ZiPLina Mafia are going to be just below them. We've got the Rat from FaZe still alive on this side as well, but does look like Zane might have just been spotted out here.
I mean, Zane's still alive, though. And on Wraith, can jump into portals, can portal hop a little bit. Waiting for that Q is going to give you a few seconds extra survivability as well. And by the way, Zane's just gone through a port into nowhere and blasted Hackis with an R9. Finally, Effect's going to get what we can say is a bit of retribution for his teammate, and FaZe will be eliminated. But Zane did pretty much everything he could in that situation. 07 now trying to move up onto ZiPLina Mafia.
Killing Hackis and having Effect and Unlucky alive is like John Wick's dog going down. The boys are straight in and said, no, buddy, you ain't going to be able to take him down for free. And Alliance will be back up to a full 3, and they will have the northwest side to themselves now. The big fight that's going to happen is 07 versus ZiPLina Mafia here, because 07 have to push in still.
Well, 07 moved here early. They had one of the best spots in zone. They had a great ring read with the console that they had available, but Kishera has gone down. It's a 2v1. As Wichi's going to just nip away here, Kishera should be able to be brought back to his feet, but Hackis and Alliance, they're looking to move in now to find a few KP themselves, but they're getting flanked. They've got to be careful here. ONIC are moving behind them.
Yeah, ONIC have joined into this one, and you can see Alliance straight away. Castle wall down, barricades out as well, and they have gone full defense mode here as they try and survive.
Yeah, they're just pinched here. Unlucky. We've seen you do some pretty crazy things with a knockdown shield. Does manage to get Hackis back up, but only to feed ONIC some more KP. Alliance will be eliminated as Empire Gaming, the solo goes down as well. So ONIC having a good game here, but here comes the wrap now from 07.
07 have spread themselves out so much here. They have taken almost the majority of the zone just by spreading everyone from north to south. And actually, 07 in a pretty good position for this game. Now, the zone is going to be transitioning a little bit further west, away from them. But because all the other teams are kind of stuck next to each other, it just means that 07 can kind of watch on. And depending on what abilities they have available to them, bear in mind they do have the crypto, so that EMP could also play a big, huge part here, getting rid of some of these Watson fences. This could be an 07 win.
Yeah, eyes on Tyler here as well as FUL try and take their spot. He's been brought in, Tyler, to add some firepower to 07. We were critical of them, saying how often have they got into great spots? How often have they then fallen over in the end game and not been able to convert or add KP to their position? Well, Tyler could be a difference maker for them. ONIC Esports at the moment, 8 KP to their name. And Zidane now looking for a portal to find them a safe space to play. WeQ still alive, by the way.
Zidane does go down. And ONIC will take this fight. And this is just perfect for 07, by the way, because all these teams on the West are fighting. I think ONIC is going to be the biggest threat, because now FUL kind of move towards that final wrap. And ONIC can position themselves in a really good spot closer to zone.
FUL down to a 2 as well. Most of the space you can see on that map overhead completely, like you say, Dan, controlled by 07. ONIC are trying to spray out this Newcastle wall with a Sheila. And FUL might be thinking about, hey, can we just try and send it onto 07 here, get a couple of KP, which opens the door for ONIC.
Yeah, I think FUL can really change how this game goes. Whoever they decide to fight, if they push one of these teams, might just win it for the other.
Dan takes some damage. Tyler's
I like this.
Tyler's getting aggressive, and I said how he might be a game changer for 07 when he's changed how this fight is looking. Damage outburst. Nasty now gets involved. A couple of shots coming in from him. Kizaron tries to poke around that Newcastle Q, but is he going to be able to connect? EMP now coming in from Kashira as well. This should give the door a little jar. FUL down for 07 to burst through and win this game.
Zidane's got down, and 07 will clean this one up after a very impressive match 3. Not only did they play it perfectly when they were trying to assess that zone, but it was how they commanded space towards that end game. And you said how they brought in Tyler to try and make a difference. Well, I love what he was doing on that Wraith, just making sure he got into different spaces to take different angles, to be aggressive at the right time. And it just, as you said, opened the door for 07.
Yeah, very, very impressive stuff. A really good front-to-back game for 07 there. Like you mentioned, they had console, they had good prio, they get a good position. But the most important thing for me is they add KP to a win. It's a game where we're looking at it, and 07, maybe a few weeks ago, if they win a game, you got 3 or 4 KP. This time it's 7, and Tyler is making that difference. You saw, like you say, the space he was taking, the couple of kills he was able to pick up, and just the space that they commanded off the back of it means 19 points for them. ONIC, by the way, with 19 themselves with the 10 KP, but impressive stuff all around from those two.
And again, it's a similar situation for 07. You know, they kind of need to be in the upper side of Pro League, potentially even winning it, if not winning regional finals, if they want to make it to champs. So this change for Tyler is their Hail Mary. This is their final attempt at trying to make it to Sapporo. And with games like that, again, just like FaZe Clan, they are another team that when we get to regional finals, providing that both teams qualify for regional finals, they could be those teams that just have that final moment to get through and qualify for champs. But FaZe Clan will still hold on to first position at the moment throughout this series after E-District before we move on to World's Edge. But with those points, 07 do send themselves up into the top 6.
Very, very impressive stuff here. Rain, join us, please, as we see our third winner of the day here, 07, returning to the fore. And if you would say FaZe Alliance 07, you know you've got some good Apex being played.
Yeah, that's right. This EMEA block is not disappointed. I've really enjoyed watching 07 come together. I think you hit the nail on the head with Tyler. He is that guy that they have been hoping to give them that spark into the next level. And certainly that's a great sign of things to come. Also, just to be aware, when you consider FaZe Clan keeping that lead, Alliance had a chance to jump up and try to close the gap, but they both tied with 8 points in that final game on E-District, which says 2 things. FaZe is still coming to play. Alliance still there and present, but also that third game a little bit wonky for 2 of our top teams, which tends to happen before we switch maps. So really interested in how they're going to tackle Storm Point. Expect to see some map changes coming up very soon, and obviously some legend changes to go with that. But guys, it's halftime, which means that we have to take a little bit of a break and catch everybody up, not just on the action that's happened here, but all across the ALGS. That's why we introduce this segment, What You Might Have Missed. If you caught up with us yesterday for this segment, we brought you the information from our previous match days in APAC South. And now it's time to talk about APAC North, guys, to let people know what's been happening on the other side of APAC. Let's get it going here with Unlimited starting off hot for that APAC North double header. It was a win in map 2 on match day 6. ULTRAMARINES, he led that lobby, getting 23 kills of the team's 36. That is a massive day, but just to compare what we saw in APAC South with Asia, 34 kills in a single match day. So APAC bringing in some incredible kills here. The tie went into map 6, seeking big points to win the day, but it finished a single point behind Unlimited. So tie, unfortunately, not being able to surpass them with 65 points despite winning the map to finish second in the first match of the doubleheader. Unlimited, they win match day 6, continue to chase after first place in the APAC North standings, and Interforce 36, a little bit of an uncharacteristic lackluster day, finishing 15th and collecting only 5 standings points and being overtaken by Unlimited. So really, it was all Unlimited. But Dan, talk to us about match day 7.
Well, match day 7 was dominated by Soten. They cleared the pack with 95 points and 65 kills, averaging nearly 3,500 damage a map, and they cut their way through the field with 3 map victories. Like, an insane performance from them. We did see DI fight hard for their second place finish, though. They had a huge effort from 768. He netted 14 kills, 10 revives to keep the squad in the fight. So a very impressive performance from them as well. And, you know, we've seen this quite a lot with DI and Soten both showing up when they need to. And APAC North has definitely demonstrated that it's a region to be keeping an eye on when it comes to international competition with the way they've been playing. As I said, the bans have been a little bit different over in APAC North with, for example, Crypto going in game 3 and just being able to see Newcastle survive so often. But APAC North, it heads into its penultimate match day on October 4th. So make sure you guys tune in to catch the final action from Group A, and Interforce 36. We'll see them in action once again. They are seeking to bounce back from a bad weekend and maybe overtake Unlimited Soten to punch their ticket to Sapporo. And I can't wait to see what happens, because this region, as I said, it never disappoints. It always brings a surprise package through, and they just do things a little bit differently over there.
It's such a great clash of regions and styles. You see a lot of Mad Maggie there. It's towards the end, of course, but they're much more willing to experiment in certain ways. Certain characters that we see trickle over here in the Americas become full-fledged must-have picks over in APAC North, or sometimes APAC South. Weapons that we saw. I remember when we were looking at Reject Winity and them taking Los Angeles a year ago to kick off year 4. They were using a ton of triple take. A lot of people weren't using the triple take at that time. That's the beauty of this setup as we start to head towards the big moment in Sapporo, which, again, guys, if you don't know, we're not just going to this January, but next January as well. A 2-year deal with the Daiwa House Premise Dome in Sapporo. So such an exciting moment for these players, and obviously trying to make it to every single one. For those who are trying to make it into this mix, though, you might be looking at this gameplay and saying, oh, these players aren't that good. If that's you, I'm surprised. I mean, honestly, that's a pretty high-level thought of yourself. But if you do think that way, you're probably pretty good. And that means that you should register for the Challenger Circuit. Put your money where your mouth is. It closes October 1st, so you only have a few more days before we kick off the spookiest month of the year. And, of course, that plays on October 4th through 6th. So the chance is now. Go ahead, register for the Challenger Circuit. Battlefy.com/ALGS. All right, another really cool thing that I wanted to bring up to you guys was that we have some more competitions coming up before Sapporo. We have the ALGS split ending on October 12th with our regional finals. You'll see all 3 of us there for that show to close out split 2. But after that, we'll have a little bit of a break, the holidays, and then lead into kicking off December with yet again, the Red Bull Legends in. It's going to be a fun one in Chicago. I think we might have something on tape for it, so take a look. If you haven't seen it before, it's something you don't want to miss.
Yo, nobody does it like us. The unstoppable, the unbeatable. Are we here now? Let's get it.
We've taken over the Godfrey Hotel in It's different, it's unique, it's nothing you've ever experienced before.
The room was pretty sick. I hope all the competitors sleep well after we kick their.
Let's get into it.
Let's do it. Let's rock it. Are you kidding?
Everybody's dying in the zone. Crook goes down to Timmy and Hal.
I mean, that was insane.
It's Timmy's Legendary Lather, the soap that brings champions to life.
Oh my God.
No. Live in the Godfrey Hotel.
Oh yeah, that's tough.
Before I let you go, Mark, any chance you might be trying to find a duo? I mean, I could see you and Vicky maybe going at it.
Yeah, him and Vicky. That sounds like a great duo.
I have to be very careful with how I answer that question, dependent. Like, I don't want to offend anyone that I play ranked with currently, because there's a group, right? And I don't.
You and Jumbo gonna take it on?
He's masters now. He's masters now.
He did it.
Yeah, I love it. Playing with Preds helps. Sorry, carry on.
Listen, we'll let Mark think about his duo for that. I'd love to see somebody I know competing in that. What a fun opportunity it would be. Might even get me, thinking about Chicago. I don't know, guys. I'm definitely going to be tuning in. Hopefully you are as well. Remember, on the December 5th show day, it's going to be a blast. And sign up and get your chance to play. Mark, we're going to send you on a little bit of a break. Enjoy, and we will catch up with you in just a little bit. Dan, I think we have some maps to break down. I know we have a couple of looks at now new POIs. It's World's Edge that we're going into. And I think that's going to change things a little bit. We didn't get to see World's Edge yesterday from a match day perspective. So for those fans who've been watching across both days, this will be a little refreshing. I always find going back to the tried and true Pro League map makes me just feel at home.
Yeah, you can see how many teams prioritized World's Edge. I mentioned it earlier when we looked at the E-District draft, but look at the first 8 teams all picking World's Edge because there are some difficult POIs to play from on this map. You know it, we know it, everyone else knows it as well. So that's why we've seen so many teams. I mean, outside, yes, you got the top 8, but then even 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, like everyone knows. Yeah, you have to really pick these big POIs so that you can give yourself a chance. And there might be a few teams kicking themselves a little bit after E-District maybe didn't capitalize on the POIs that they did have, but now you have to change it all over here for World's Edge. And this also can shift the conversation a little bit towards legend selection as well, because we do see different legends coming into the fray when it does come to World's Edge and the chance for maybe new things to shine. But we still do have Newcastle. It hasn't been banned yet, so we're going to still see a lot of Newcastle, and we have seen in Americas, this is when Newcastle usually gets banned, but not the same can be said for EMEA. Sometimes it can stay alive at this point, and we often see Watson banned at this stage.
Yeah. Well, Watson's fantastic in general. I think she's even better on World's Edge. One of the things that her character does, and it makes it difficult to balance characters like this when their kit is just what you need to do in general to win a game, which is hold a building, hold space, make sure nobody takes your space, and give you room to take other space. And that's exactly what Watson does in general. So when you have a ton of buildings, when you have zones that end in a lot of situations where there are trucks or carts or buildings that she could fence up, that the generator works for. Remember, this character came out when this was the map that most people were playing on. Many of the maps that we have now didn't even exist. So I think Watson was built to succeed here. And so you might see more a shift that way. I'm curious though, Dan, to see, do we see more of a counter composition brought up here in World's Edge? People will be safer in their picks of things like maybe Newcastle, maybe Gibraltar, but will that also encourage teams like Citadel, which we've already seen, to lean heavier into things like Sears or other teams to pick up Maggies to try to go ahead and go against that?
Yeah, definitely going to see more of it coming into the fray. Something that Mark's been big on as well. It's just that how impactful these compositions can be, mainly when Newcastle's been banned, to be honest, because Newcastle is still a little bit tricky to deal with. Even if you've got the Maggie, Newcastle's just so bloody strong that even with the tools to try and take him down, even with a Sheila to try and take down the shield, Newcastle is just still so good, especially when you get an accelerator on board and someone is still going to be popping shield after shield, dropping Newcastle wall left, right, and center. But we're on the way. We are into match 4, and obviously that means that we've got another selection of bans as well, as I just go across and see if I can get that up on my screen, which I can't. Yep. Okay, so match 4, we are going to have banned Ash is actually going to be taken away here. That is a bit of a surprise for me. 14 Ashes, 10 Watsons, 10 Newcastle. So obviously, with Wraith disappearing in match 3, you're always going to have a little bit more Ash coming into the equation, but maybe not that much I was expecting.
Yeah, I'm surprised too, because again, I think Storm Point, I think E-District, and you know, your thoughts too, I want to hear. It just feels like those are the places you get stuck a little more if you don't have the extreme mobility that Ash can provide, or that Alter or that Wraith can provide. I feel like the fact that Ash is so prevalent here in World's Edge, this is one of the maps that I think you could do well without Ash in a little bit more of a stable comp and not be so caught out, because the spots to portal from, they're less available on this map, in my opinion. So I'm very curious to see how this Ash plays out for all of these teams. Also very surprised that yet again there has not been a single Gibraltar picked up. Again, we know that's a Storm Point heavy pick, but it just feels like EMEA has the way that they want to play this right now, and they're sticking to it.
I think it goes to show that not everyone is dead set on Watson either. I think that this, because we've seen a fair bit of crypto, some people are kind of leading away from Watson, and this is what the legend bans is all about, is people trying to work out how they can avoid the bans and keep a legend for longer. And because we've got Rampart and Watson splitting up, it means that it allows Ash to come through as the main legend and get banned here. Now, Nom have already been able to take a fight. You can see that already a kill going in their favor, Feuda going down, and early scraps happening. As the zone is going to be transitioning to the southwest side of the map, we are going to see a lot of people committing very fast down towards it.
Yeah, this is going to be a big one as well. The teams still up top, Citadel Gaming and Alliance, interestingly enough. Pay attention to that. Citadel loving to run at teams earlier on in E-District, running to a team against like Alliance. We'll see if they take that fight or if they try to mirror each other and grab themselves a spot in the zone a little earlier. On the other side, Nam near Mirage à Trois takes that Ash portal all the way down from that area for a little bit of safety and trying to bridge the gap into the next area of the zone. As FaZe Clan, you see them also moving in. A little bit of a skirmish happening with SPS. A lot of teams getting into it early here, Dan.
Yeah, and I think they might back off a little bit now. You sometimes have to force your way through with an early fight just to try and make your rotation, but then once that has happened, you're not necessarily looking for fights. I know there are some teams that are looking for fights. I mean, when you look at this composition, sure, you could be looking to engage as well, but I think most of these teams are going to look to try and actually find a position that they can hold in this late game. It's very difficult to play Edge unless you have the right comp.
Nags threw a nice little grenade from up top. They didn't see it coming, SPS. Oh my gosh, got a little surprise there. This should be a kill. Nags knows it should be. Zane with another grenade finds another player on SPS, and that should be it. Really nice surprise hold. SPS didn't know what they were going into. They actually thought they were stopping a fight. They ran right into one, and FaZe Clan picks up even more KP with 51 points starting the 4th game.
Yeah, it's a rough ambush. SPS wouldn't have enjoyed that one, especially considering they're playing Sparrow and they weren't able to get any sort of info. Maybe you look towards your Sparrow player there and you're like, well, I mean, why didn't you chuck a dart up to like 20 feet up in the air and maybe see if you can get info for us? But yeah, that's a tough one, and FaZe, I'm sure they'll be giggling to themselves about that one.
Well, it's just something to put in the back pocket. Like, hey, when we pass this choke, people are going to hide up there. Throw a dart, make sure no one's hiding. Those are the little things that somebody who doesn't have to worry about the big picture things probably going to be able to say. But when you're worried about just getting involved, SPS, towards the end of this lobby, obviously 18th place, trying to just get some points on the board, they're probably thinking a little bit more big picture, which unfortunately adds to the difficulty of solving those little problems, because some things like that slip your mind. As we head over with Ronin, trying to break some doors here on the G7 Scout, throw a couple of tethers from McGlutch. Nate on the Maggie, which we've seen used to I think quite a decent amount of success overall on the day. I haven't seen any plays that's made me really excited about Maggie yet, but it's certainly a character that has fit into this meta in more ways than metas previously. So it's always good to see that refresh happen, Dan. And again, a good sign that teams are willing to experiment, even if it's not throwing everything out. It's adding a few little pieces to say, hey, maybe this works a little bit better.
Yeah, we've only seen a few Maggies come into the fray, but that's mainly because, you know, as you mentioned, there's no Gibraltar. We're not playing Storm Point, so Maggie's not as important, but still does play a vital part and can be very important for those teams that want to play a little bit more aggressive. Sadly, for the likes of Killer Whales, who have been playing Maggie all day, they've just found themselves at the top of Thermal, and that's not really where you want to be with that kind of composition. You want to be looking to try and take fights in and around Thermal Station rather than on top of it. But we'll see whether they can still make it work from the position they found themselves in. As now you've got all these teams that are on the southeast side, kind of trying to get information from survey beacons from ring consoles. Legion Gaming will get that info now. They're moving down to the southwest. Ronin have escaped. SPS still looking at it. But even if you get through these fights, you've got Cybercats and Alliance over towards Harvester at the moment. So there's going to be a lot of conflict on the east.
Alliance know Cybercats have to move, maybe hoping if they play this patiently, Legion Gaming, SPS, Ronin will take Cybercats' attention. They could show up a little bit late to that party, but you could hear actually and visually see Alliance firing a little bit of that Spitfire. If I had to bet, I'd say that's Hockey's who's firing that weapon. Recently in his little tier list that he posted, it's about 10 minutes long, a pretty short tier list. Talked about that paintball Spitfire being, in his eyes, pretty much toe for toe, one of the best weapons that he could use if he's not going to go G7 Scout. 30-30 or PK, and speaking of that, 30-30 answers right on to Calamity to cause some more chaos, and Blooming Flower is in trouble here.
A little bit of aggression to take the bridge. And you just need to show a lot more of it if you want to keep transitioning towards zone, because even once you get over this bridge, you're still going to be on the other side of the mountain, not on the thermal side. So where we saw FaZe ambush a little bit earlier, those kind of positions alongside where Empire are holding at the train track, it's going to be such a tough ass to try and actually get in.
Dan, look at
I don't think SPS is going to be able to get over either.
Yeah, I mean, but this team, we saw it looked like they were fully wiped. We didn't really see at the end what happened to the remaining player, but they've done a good job. It was either God of War or QPMS. I think it was God of War. They got the other two back up on blues. They've got a chance. Alliance still playing pretty patiently there. Hockey's with the Spitfire and the PK. Hops away from the G7, as we had mentioned. Staying true to his word. And on the Pathfinder. So they're going to have some height. Sends in Unlucky, who just narrowly doesn't see the player in there. Hides behind a cart, takes a little bit of damage. Going to shield battery up for safety, but inside the exhibit of effect, Alliance saying we believe in the Seer in this match, and one of the only Seers to come out here in this entire lobby of 20 teams. There's only one other Seer, and it belongs to Citadel Gaming, who've been playing it for the last 4 games.
And another reason why we're not seeing the ban coming out for the likes of Watson or Newcastle is because of the amount of Pathfinders too. So you've got 14 Ashes, but you've got 6 Pathfinders coming into the equation. So it's just people are diverting away from the norm, which just changes those bans ever so slightly. So we'll have to see whether the Pathfinder can really help out. But again, that just leads into the fact that Alliance can play this exact same composition going into the next game by throwing a little bit of a curveball in their selection. And at the moment, they're just holding Harvester, but they do need to be a little bit worried about the teams around them, because they might have to take a direct fight against Citadel Gaming. And if they don't, Cybercats might be able to push through. So this is why we're seeing Alliance take a different approach here. They don't want to actually go face on against a team when they're being watched over by another squad.
And because they're running the Seer as well, you know, Pathfinder giving them access to those beacons, being able to understand where the zone is pulling, probably why opted for that over the Ash, which is, I think, something that they're skilled enough to navigate as well. Also, you look at what can give our team high ground. Pathfinder, Ash, both competing with that. Ronan, though, trying to compete here with this fight. A little bit of damage from the Maggie drill from Nate. He knows that pushes her or his opponent out a ways, and Nate's just going to give up on this one. Knows it's a pretty tough fight. And for all people who have started that fight, it's SBS who have already been in a tough position, and they're going to find themselves in an even tougher one here. A couple of shots from Unlucky. Moves forward with the shield, doing two things at once. No problem for him as he's going to heal and create a little bit more space for Alliance Effect and Hockeys to follow up. SBS still alive, though. It's not a full wipe. They've done a pretty good job of staying alive so far. It's Tamuchi yet again who's made his way out, but this could be the true end of SBS as he runs right back into Nate. Alliance is going to clean up Ronan as well.
So 2 stragglers wiped out of the lobby, and now we're down to 17. You're seeing the difficulty for a lot of these teams who are trying to get into thermal late. They're just being peppered by scouts. And maybe even a couple of 30-30s have been picked up as well. Legion Gaming trying to force their way in, and I think that we will actually be able to find a spot here, but sadly, you say it's no man left behind, but one will be left behind. Wasn't able to make that same journey, so now Legion Gaming is going to have to try and play this one out as a 2.
I don't know if I was seeing the future saying Blooming Flower was in trouble, because he wasn't when I actually said that, but now he certainly is. Couldn't cross the lava. I don't blame you. I couldn't cross the lava either. I mean, the lava near me, I'm turning the other direction. Blooming Flower, maybe they'll have a chance to get a mobile respawn beacon and get him back in. But when you talk about what the game being played over there looks like, it's completely different from the game Alliance and Citadel have been playing. You have to keep an eye on that team that has really been the other Seer who have stayed outside of the zone and actually are coming in on a pretty decent spot. They'll have to deal with 07 who do see them, but also Alliance who have just said, well, what do we do with this time? We're late to Harvester. There's already a ton of teams in thermal. Let's just go towards the outskirts and see what we can find. And they've already found at least 2 teams that they can pick off there. Citadel Gaming, the other team, but they've got to deal with 07 who are very prepared for this push from that side.
Yeah, this zone shift that has only just become apparent to a lot of these teams is going to be a tough one. Everyone who's on the southern side or the southeast side, this is where you need that Ash. You know, we got 14 Ashes in the lobby, so there are teams that are going to be able to portal into safety, but I tell you what, talking about safety, Citadel are everything but at the moment. Every bit of utility, every single gun seems to be firing their way, and they just can't seem to catch a break right now.
That's a tough spot to be in. I feel like maybe where Remix Powers is where they should have all been holding up. There might be a spot from that top building that can pressure that with a fence, but without the Maggie, they really are safe. And have to see if they had a mobile respawn beacon on there to reset. Alliance have found their way into the zone. We said they've been playing a different game, but now that different game collides with the game of the players who are already here sitting in wait, knowing a team like Alliance might be trying to join the party. Let's listen in and see how they do.
Good help him. I can't see. Back him. Can you come? I'm dead. R21. I'm needing it. Scanning it. Him. All 3 down. All 3 there. Good nade. Good nade. F1. Go. You got 2. That's nice. Oh, no. Look for body. Get the movie on his body. I'm 14 seconds. I'm getting it. Yep. Drop me over. That's shit. Okay. I dropped it for you. Yeah, okay. You just have to I'm gonna sip balloon here. Can we get fly on it? Yeah. Wait, I can't. What? Why? What? No, it's way too far. We need to walk in low ground right fight. Right side of fight. Okay. They're just dying. They're dying there where you ping. Fuck them in the back. Come to me. I'm gonna sip. Yeah. Go hide. I think you go hide. Which hide? Right side. Like hide. Sipping. I'm dropping off here for a second. I think I'm dropping off here. I'm batting. You're fine. I gotta grapple forward. I don't have choice. Info? What's happening? They're dying. You can jump on me. Yeah, I am. They're dying in the corner in front of me. Just pull. Q and pull. I have no Q. Okay. One night again. It's still only up. Go closer. I gotta get me. I can't forward. I can't. Yep. Use my knock. Pull on the corner. Yeah, come where? Oh no, the armor's something.
And Alliance off a call outside of Hockey's. I think it was Unlucky saying go high. Do not make it, but do not tell me Effect is going to 1v3 these squads. Gets the Seer Q, but it's not enough to silence the bullets that fire back at him. And Alliance, we said they were playing 2 games. We see which one was superior. Getting here early made the difference. Even with the mobile respawn beacon found, Dan, weren't able to find their footing into this. And FaZe Clan, the only team that so far challenged up on top, where 07 had been sitting, now finding a way to get the building on the lower ground and take out Passion to secure their spot. Not necessarily in zone, but at least for now to find a little bit of stability.
Also, double R to 99, it might have been a different fight for Effect there, but having to whip out the Scout suddenly became a difficult situation. Now, Killer Whales, I mentioned them earlier, they found top of Thermal, and they don't necessarily have the comp that you want in this position because you have very little defensively, but thankfully, the zone has played into them perfectly, where they've just been able to reside here the whole time. They do have the Ash Portal to use a little bit later if they need it, but they've just been able to pepper people up from above with the Scout. And actually, they could pick up some good points here because the zone continues to pull. So all the people that were on the northern side, the likes of 07, FUL, who were looking like a really good spot if it was going to pull up towards those houses, now suddenly have to jump down towards the lava and might find themselves not even getting a top 5 at this point.
I mean, Dan, that's a great point. If you're looking at that map, it pulled up to those houses and now pulled back down towards the bottom half. This is really tricky. Almost feels like if you're on the side of 07, this is a bit of a sick joke. But Citadel Gaming, they've been coming from that side as well. Always just keep tabs on them. They've been running at this lobby pretty consistently, but have been pretty stable this time around. And there goes one of the leaders, FaZe Clan, the first place team, out for the count. And you can see Nasky with 07 finding a couple of kills as they move down, but they are in the lava. Citadel Gaming as well finding kills, so it's 07 who falls. Citadel take the space. And keeping an eye on this team, and now they have certainly found a great spot here on the low ground with absolutely zero to contest them.
So even though Citadel looked like they were in a dismal position earlier, the zone shift really helped them out because they had an easier transition from their position previously. And now Citadel can get back up to at least a 2, but now we're down to 5 squads. Killer Whales still on top of Thermal. Below them is Roadhouse, by the way, who have been going very quiet amongst this lobby, just surviving. But the zone does pull out just a little bit further north than where Roadhouse are. Now, I'm expecting Roadhouse or Killer Whales to win this game because I think Nom, Legion, and Citadel all are in such a tough spot having to go across that lava. Even if you go across that bridge, you're going to be peppered by the other team. So expect a Roadhouse or a Killer Whales win here unless we see something magnificent from one of these other 3 squads.
Nom here on the low ground, doing a really good job of at least applying some pressure. There's not much you can do in this type of engagement. Nobody's going to go down. Nobody's going to give up their spot, even if you get shot. The only teams really to pay attention to is maybe Citadel Gaming or Legion Gaming, who might try to take advantage of that. So instead of looking up, I feel like Nom doing the right thing here, looking to the right, making sure that they stay safe. And there it is, the first move. They're patient enough. The zone pulls their way. A couple of PK shots. This should be Legion Gaming in trouble. Sampy will fall. No wins for them. On the other side, you still see Citadel Gaming. They're going to go on the opposite side of that pillar. It's still Killer Whales, and it's still Roadhouse, waiting to see who makes it out of the fray. I like Roadhouse here a lot, Dan, especially since they don't have to drop.
However, we have got the ability for Killer Whales to drop a little bit of something else. Having Bangalore available to them, they are going to have the smokes as well to give them some coverage here. And mainly it's going to be what Citadel Gaming do alongside Nom. They can really influence this fight, but Nom have already lost one. Citadel also struggling to get across that lava. So Killer Whales, they're just raining hell from above here.
Oh, that's huge, man. I mean, look at this. They started off with just a few kills. Now they've at least got 11. That is a massive game for them. Last time we checked in, they had 13 points. They now have 27. My goodness, what a showcase from Killer Whales. This is going to take a lot, though. They're going to have to be a little bit of Houdini magic here, pulling a rabbit out of the hat, because Roadhouse have just been sitting pretty, but they go down. And look at this, Citadel Gaming, who've probably traveled the farthest to get here, are going to take a clean second place, because Killer Whales are going to live up to the namesake. They hunt in the pack, and they find their prey.
Killer Whales have just gone from last place into top 5 just with one game. They had an insane amount of kills there. I said that with their comp, they probably didn't want to be at the top of Thermal Station, but they made it work because they have the weapons to go alongside it. They have the scouts to be able to just obliterate anyone that was arriving. And then when it actually came to the final circle, the Bangalore helped them in waves, just being able to smoke down, get rid of any kind of obstacles that were being set up by other teams as they were transitioning in, but it also was just giving small tags to add damage to it as well. And they're going to be delighted because that's a huge game for them.
Massive game for them. They needed that. And that puts them in the conversation of taking the match day. I mean, they're in top 5. Another game like that, things could really work out. And I love the way they navigated a good situation, Dan. That's one of the things we always look to see. Can you, if given the right spot, at least get your top 3, your top 2, your win? And they did even more than that. They come away with 19 kill points, 31 points in that game, the single highest game of the day, and might be so far of the weekend in Americas and EMEA's. Wonderful performance from them with a little bit of an unorthodox composition, Dan.
The zone worked out perfectly for them. The fact that it pulled away from the teams that were on the south, so they had to kind of run towards the center of Thermal, and that allowed them to just pepper any arriving teams. And then it pulled back towards the middle of Thermal, so the teams on the north then had to move in as well, and they just had the perfect vantage point, and look where it puts them. Suddenly they've caught up Alliance. As I said, Killer Whales were down in the bottom 3 before that, and now they find themselves all the way up into the top 5, and you've mentioned it, you know, they are closing in on the top spots, and with another game like that, they could suddenly be in first place, so it does blow everything wide open here.
And this is a team, too, that we've seen have these explosive days, be unafraid to fight. And I love that that is actually earning them some value. I also love right now with what feels like a very static meta, seeing some staccato to break up the consistent metronomic pace of what we're seeing across the lobbies. Alliance have done it. Citadel Gaming have done it. Now Killer Whales have done it. Both of those, all 3 of those teams certainly succeeding more so than most. 2 more games left to see whether Killer Whales can make the incredible comeback, FaZe can hold on to the top spot, or if Alliance will yet again find themselves at the top of Europe, all on the other side of this break.
Series.
Welcome back, everybody. Game number 5 is just around the corner. Game number 4 went to our first winners with an amphibious name, if I'm not mistaken. Dan Gaskin, we'll have to check the history books for that. But Killer Whales were the winner over at Thermal Station on our first World's Edge game. And it set us up beautifully because that was not just a win, Dan. That was a little bit of a line in the sand. That was a huge, huge performance from them.
Yeah, unbelievable amount of kills, and as I was alluding to just at the end of the game, everything just seemed to play perfectly into their hands and their position. Sometimes sitting top of Thermal can be to your detriment, but with how the zones were shifting back and forth from south to north, back down to south, it meant that it just played perfectly into their spot, and they were able to pick apart those teams that were desperately scrambling to get across lava. And then in the end, they committed at the right time as well, dropping off height and taking the fight successfully together to be able to shut down the teams below them.
Yeah, pretty simple job for them in the end there. You see, avoiding the CQs as well, which was very important in this final moment. That tether just caused a few problems as well. Zuni did what he could to try and pull off the miracle play, but the numbers were just too much for them to overcome. Killer Whales with the win in game number 4, which sets us up beautifully now for 2 more games on World's Edge. And I feel like today's got some more twists in it, Dan. 4 different winners across 4 different games. And I've got the feeling we might be repeating that with game number 5 coming up.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to see Killer Whales have a game like that again, suddenly they find themselves in first place. And that would be like such bad news for the likes of FaZe Clan, who have looked so consistent, so impressive so far today. But that can all be whipped away from you if you don't find a good matches 5 or 6. But I'm expecting FaZe to be able to bounce back a little bit here. Obviously, it was a rough zone for them trying to transition all the way from south after their ambush. But at least they are able to move on here and still be first place.
You have to see where the zone goes in game number 5 as well to see if it helps out some of those teams who are maybe in the chasing pack, or maybe some of those who are still at the top of the leaderboards as well. Also want to give a little mention, it almost happened. The effect, almost 1v3, would have been something we've been talking about for quite some time, and something that only a play like that even gets close to pulling off.
Yeah, I think I said it. If he had 2 R9s, it might have been a different story, but having to whip out the scout and try and hip fire it is never going to be fun for you. But alas, Alliance weren't able to hold on even after effect came from the skies. Now, Ash will be banned going into match 5. This is something that's a little bit different from what we've seen so far in Scrim, so maybe does just really change how this is going to affect matches 5 and 6, because most importantly, Mark, we still have Newcastle up.
We do indeed, and now you're looking at who your rotational character is going to be, right? Who's going to get you from A to B, because Alter gone, Wraith gone, Ash now gone as well. You have to wonder who that next legend is going to be that's going to help these teams get into that position. So an interesting one for sure. We're going to have to see how this game plays out and who is going to be the legend, if you're not able to get in a zone early, that's going to allow you to get somewhere near it.
Well, here we go. Match 5, and a chance for someone maybe to do exactly what the Killer Whales have just done. They went from zeros to heroes. The fact that they were able to go from bottom 3 to top 5 with 1 single game really was quite spectacular. So can anyone else do the same? Now, in terms of legend selection, well, when you've lost Wraith, when you've lost Alter, when you've lost Ash, who do you turn to? Well, good old-fashioned Pathfinder. We're going to see Pathfinder banned in this game. 16 Pathfinders. So Newcastle survives again. And this is where legend bans become very interesting, because all it takes is one slightly different ban, and it changes everything for the remainder of the series. Because now we've lost Ash, where typically she would have been available here, now everyone has to transition really to Pathfinder, because he's one of the last few mobility legends that is left.
So he's going to give you that survey beacon information, so Pathfinder fulfilling those 2 roles. But it is interesting to see, right? When was the last time we saw a Pathfinder ban? It just full stop. I can't remember one in recent memory. I'm sure that people will correct me if I'm wrong, but Pathfinder certainly back to the fore here to, like you say, fulfill those 2 roles of survey beacons and that rotational character. But rotational characters maybe not going to be particularly needed here, as we are going to Skyhook for this zone. Lots of places to play. My favorite zone, Dan, and it sets us up absolutely perfectly for a slow burner here before an absolutely crazy endgame that we love to see.
I mean, a Skyhook zone with 16 Pathfinders in the lobby? Yes, please, sign me up. There's going to be zip mayhem as everyone moving from building to building here, trying to get the best spot. And you've also got Citadel and Alliance, who are dropping up towards Trials and Skyhook, who are going to be pretty happy about that zone, but they may not even know it yet, because I don't think either of them would have had a chance to hit Ring Console. There are some survey beacons for them to get info from a little bit later on, but I think they're just going to get the info from everyone else arriving. You can see Nom are already there. Endorse are making their way. 07 are going to be moving from the north. Legion Gaming not so far behind. So all the early movers starting to arrive.
Yeah, interesting one for Citadel Gaming, right? I'm just looking. I'm pretty sure there isn't a console that they're going to be able to hit here, or would have been able to hit, should I say, in Skyhook at all. There was 2 survey beacons, but I did not see a console. And so they've defaulted to top trials. But defaulting to top trials, we talk about it quite a lot on these Skyhook zones. Might be good for some KP, but finding your way in late when that zone does pull away, that we can see it's going to do on Ring Console, puts you in a really, really tough position to rotate in later. So a little bit of an unfortunate one for Citadel Gaming. We'll have to see how they play it out and if they can adapt to that zone. We'll take a look at Skyhook, though, as the teams do start to arrive, some of them through the sky and some of them on foot.
So even though we've got 16 Pathfinders, there are a lot of differences across compositions, by the way. Like people just trying something a little bit else. This is where Pathfinder comes into full effect here, though, being able to get from building to building. 12 Newcastles, 9 Watsons, 7 Ramparts, 5 Bangs. Got Cryptos, Maggies, Sparrows, and Seers. So plenty to play with, plenty to think about as well in these final circles as Blast gets blasted. But I do think Rampart is going to play a big part in this final zone as well. Just Sheila in general is going to be important against all the Newcastles in the lobby.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? It's kind of fulfilling that role of the Ring Console character. So someone is going to be able to, of course, hit that objective to give you the zone information. But in this kind of a zone where everyone can stack up, I don't feel like, you know, zone information, it's a very readable one, you know what I mean? And of course, this is Captain Hindsight at the wheel right now, but everyone knows this is a Skyhook zone, even off of zone 1, I would suggest. So it's one of those where you're like, hey, if we would have known this was going to be a Skyhook zone, maybe we wouldn't have played a console character. But that's just never going to happen, unfortunately. It's the one in the million that you're just going to never bet against, never bet that is going to happen.
Again, it's always those niche situations, isn't it? But FaZe Clan, first place at the moment, 54 points, but teams starting to catch them up because they did have an somewhat early exit in the previous game. But for this one, they are going to have to play a little bit late towards zone because they sadly are dropping down on towards the southern side of the map. So they are being shadowed at the moment by Killer Whales, and that would be an interesting fight if it did happen because Killer Whales have been playing a pretty aggressive comp, although it does look like they've shifted somewhat as they've got more points and maybe they've realized that actually they do have a chance, so they're not playing as aggressive. It looks like Killer Whales have gone for Pathfinder Newcastle Bangalore.
I was just about to say, FaZe might be about to pinch a couple of teams here. Cybercats were running away from Rodin and having got the kill onto Elonzi here. FaZe might be looking to now punish Ronin as well. They got the knock onto MG Clutch. They're looking for that finish as well. No Alto, which means you're not going to be able to get the free get out of jail pass and hit that Void Nexus. And now they've got to worry, FaZe, about turning their backs to Killer Whales, like you said. But it looks like the timing for them could not have been better in that situation.
Yeah, this is perfect for FaZe Clan. They're going to have a clean rotation all the way through Monument and up towards Skyhook. No one should get in their way unless they want to try and hold out the teams behind them. But considering the comp they're playing, the fact that you've got the Watson, I imagine they probably want to get towards zone and see if they can find a position to work with here off the Pathfinder zips. And they can use the crypto to try and work out which buildings are available as well. So it might work out all right for FaZe, even though they're going to be arriving late. And remember, they can hit Ring Console for zone 3 information as well, just to get a better spot in Skyhook.
SBS find a spot. Lots of them available, of course, here on the eastern side of Bar. Pathfinder going for that Evo, but might pay for it. Not looking good. Legion Gaming also not looking too good now. 2 are dead. Blooming Flower, the last one alive. Got the RE, but peaking with the RE versus those Peacekeepers and 2 players is not going to get the job done. Legion Gaming will be eliminated as Empire Gaming will win that fight, but they're going to have to find a way to get life and back in this game. They do have the Moby by the sounds of it. And they've got to be careful of a third party moving in and seeing that Moby being hit.
Yeah, does anyone take the bait here?
Good EMP. I think that's going to slow them down. They're not going to take that now.
I don't think anyone will now try and commit to it. Well, Zone 3 information is not really going to give you anything more than you previously had. So even though FaZe were able to potentially hit it on their way, it's nothing new to them. So they're going to probably still go up towards the northeast, I would imagine, and try and get in that way. You don't really want to try and go through Vault Tunnel here. It would be quite a difficult spot, but the survey beacon on their way will maybe give them a little bit more of an idea of how they want to play this.
Should be able to purples as well. You see the Evo Harvester was right next to them. So FaZe are going to be able to approach this one, at least with the best chances. of fighting their way into a spot. They're also going to see there's still, as there always is in Skyhook, a lot of buildings available for them, but it's about finding their way to one. Lifen is back in the game here for Empire, so Namobi gets stuck. They will be chilling. They will be safe. And with those KP on board, now think about their next move. But I think a lot of teams now aren't going to be thinking about what's next. Everyone is waiting for the zone to close. Not this one, the one afterwards, to know what moves they have to make. FaZe, having hit that survey beacon, will be able to find a building that is going to be safe. That's not going to be blind for them. However, one team is struggling at the moment. Inside of this building as SBS is putting the damage down.
Yeah, SBS already found one. I don't even know if there is the remainder of the team available to fight. I think the remainder of the team has actually taken flight and got out of that position. And just trying to survive and see if they can maybe do anything as a duo. But I think FaZe flying into the southwest is an interesting one. It's about where that zone goes. You mentioned it. It's being patient here at this point. Not overcommitting to a fight that's pointless, and instead getting zone 4 information before you start to make that move, because that's going to be the biggest aspect of this game, is where that zone goes. Does it go towards the central building? Does it pull a little bit further southwest? Or does it go even further north, where the likes of 07 currently find themselves?
A little bit of patience is going to have to be shown here by teams. The fact that we're in match 5 as well, it's going to be difficult for some of those squads, considering that they're probably thinking we need to get some KP as well as placement points to force ourselves up the leaderboards, but this probably just isn't the game for it. This is the game for the long game, so to speak. As he gets a knock onto effect from distance, you imagine they'll be able to reset that one pretty comfortably. We take a look at Killer Whales, the winners of our previous games. They had a long way to go here. And it looks like they're going to try and actually wrap to the back of Trials and up to the top. Let's jump into a listen in with Killer Whales. Let's see what the plan is.
Like this team is. Yeah. Wait. Ready? There's one guy here, I think. Okay, start.
Wait, the party. You ready?
Okay.
Oh no, he jumped off this guy.
1, 2, 3.
1.
I don't have zip. We don't have. Just slide down. Oh shit. Are you dead? We can play here. IQ. Play in the box.
I'm batting. Can we just run to the building? Just bat and run to the building, okay?
You have to smoke it. He's on the roof.
No, I can't say. I'm on it.
We can just go back around if you have to. Just
yeah, we need to.
Just go back.
Yeah,
I'm dead. Wait, I'm good.
No, you're good. I'm smoking here, Victor, okay?
I've zipping 50%. You wanna go counter?
Yeah, we have to. I got another med kit, and I got Phoenix as well.
There's an ult Excel. I have my ult. You can go thingy again, mark it. I mean, if we wait, do you have enough heals to wait?
2 med kits, 6 syringes.
I have 1 med kit, 25%. Yeah, the syringe is there, bro. They tell us
but they're drilling, bro. They know. We shouldn't, I don't think. We just go from this side and zip to here. Like Diner here.
Yeah, but they took it now.
So Killer Whales try and wrap. They get the pick on the height, but it just seemed to draw attention to them down as they tried to slide down. You heard in the comms as well. No Pathfinder zip available. They used it to get to that position, which means that they couldn't really capitalize on getting that knock and getting into zone.
Yeah, now they have to have a long old journey round. I mean, they were talking about going down towards Count now, but I was wondering if they could head north and that wrap. It seems like they had the meds for it, and looking at the map, it looks like that might be what they're going to go for here. Again, it could still be a difficult rotation for them in, but it might give them a better opportunity to play for the end game, because this zone is transitioning east. We're going to be heading a little bit further east on Skyhook. So for FaZe Clan, for example, who head to the southwest, they're going to have to now move through about 6 or 7 teams before they can even get into zone. So it's going to be a tough old journey for them as well.
Yeah, looking at the likes of UAIM, very good position for them, playing that bar building and the triple stack. They're currently split holding at the moment, so teams might try and identify that as a building, one of those buildings that can be taken. Of course, the triple stack building as well is going to have floors available to try and force on. As the Killer Whales show they can go to airborne as well, hitting the zip, and they will be safe here, but for how long is the question. A lot of focus is going to be on them.
You can see a few Mad Maggies in the lobby, but the difference that Mad Maggie can make, because it now forces them down, and suddenly Killer Whales as a 2. You still have the Newcastle available, but Warrior's gonna have to do his best, but sadly, I think Killer Whales might just be falling to their death here.
Rez just seems to delay the inevitable here. King Victor will go down. Killer Whales will be eliminated. So not going to be able to make the rotate work. Too many lines of sight on that height that they did land on initially. And Ronin did a really good job, actually, of just making sure that they bullied them out of that position once they knew some damage was done. 07 on that northern side. We said how it will be good for now, but their reaction to where this zone is going to go might be a little bit different. They're going to wrap back towards train station immediately here. And as you can see on the very northern tip of the zone, that's 07. Not the worst of spots. If they can work their way into one of the buildings that's occupied by, take Flyte or cybercats, for example, then they could find themselves in towards this endgame. But yeah, you look at it, Endorse, FaZe, Roadhouse, very difficult rotate for them to make.
It's funny, isn't it, as well? If you think back to FaZe when they were making their move in, they were hitting that survey beacon and then they chose to take the building on the southwest. Had they kept just moving up and walked in, they would have been prime position on that right-hand side. Now, granted, a difficult spot to hold because those buildings were taken, but the building below UAIM, for example, is still available. But hindsight is 2020, and obviously without ring information, things are very different. But now we've got to watch FaZe Clan try and bully their way through from this southwest spot. And by doing so, they might be able to just increase their lead in first place. Let's jump into a listening with FaZe Clan and see how they feel about this zone.
No, don't do it, it's not worth it. He's gonna rest for sure. Yeah. There's no way he's not. This team just zip to this building. This building's free. We can fight this. They're fighting. Or something. Take Dyna. One shot back.
Checkpoint rotate. It's a solo crypto in here.
He's coming back. In front door. One. One dead. Another one. Coming.
Crypto one.
One out. Come inside. One man top.
Need top.
One. Dead.
Form.
I'm running. We might be in outside, but I don't think we're in here.
We can play the fences. It's okay. We can do the building.
No. There's nothing in
Really interesting listening there. They win the fight against ZiPLina Mafia, but one thing I love and I want to highlight, Dan, is the use of the term checkpoint and rotate. That means piece by piece, step by step, we're going to give ourselves checkpoints, move from building to building to try and get to this zone. Ronin eliminated in the meantime.
Yeah, eliminated. They'll be out of action here. cybercats starting to move through as now teams getting a little bit desperate to go from building to building and just taking any space that is presented to them, but having to fight your way through certain squads whilst you do it. UAIM still going to be one of the best spots. Citadel have been able to flank round and found a building actually that is going to work for them as now FaZe Clan continue to push through. They don't want to overcommit to fights at the moment because they are still trying to work out their journey.
I think FaZe have recognized that endgame may be not possible, but KP may well be. Cinetic going to be last alive here for FaZe momentarily. You can see Phoenix is in front of him as a solo as well. The lobby's starting to light up. Citadel Gaming will be out as well as 15 squads find themselves still standing here in this lobby.
So I'd say Cinetic probably wants to get into his drone and become a little bit invisible. Maybe you can do the hero play, grab those banners and get the team back in. And FaZe might have a chance to do something in the late game if you're lucky. But for now, we'll focus elsewhere. Endorse gets shut down. Empire Gaming, who have been able to push in on this building right below, and 07 have actually found themselves here as well. So remember, UAIM were kind of in this building, and UAIM have been forced away from this spot into a worse position.
UAIM having to play one of the floors of the building next to them now, in the green building. 07 initially forced the bottom floor, and Roadhouse now find themselves having to move in. 20 seconds to make their play. 14 squads still alive in this lobby. It's going to be so tough to work your way anywhere near this endgame. If you're in a safe spot right now, you're going to have to be so alert to every team that's going to be trying to force onto your position. It's almost one of those where if you think you can get a kill, sometimes just prioritizing your life is better for the longer game.
Well, you can hear the res ship. SJP2 get eliminated. Alliance, we check back in with them. They're on top of the cake building at the moment. They will be back up to a full 3 as well. Now, Alliance, remember, they do have the Pathfinder, so they could zip across, and it looks like that zip has already been put into place, but it's about when you go here, what time you commit, and actually, you could just use it as bait.
It wasn't electrified as well, so they would have taken a lot of damage on it. FaZe Clan have been eliminated. They'll be next out of the lobby. That opens things up for this final game as well, with FaZe at the top of the leaderboards. cybercats taking a huge amount of damage as well, and as this fight breaks out, Hacky says, I want a piece of this. He wants to 3-peat. Effect has gone down in the meantime, so Alliance down to 2, but Unlucky doing his job on the Newcastle. Get his teammates back on their feet.
Yeah, they are going unnoticed at the moment. As I say that, a few nades are starting to come their way. Maybe now they do get spotted out. Roadhouse and Nom are going to get eliminated at the same time. As this zone, by the way, is going to be right between all these buildings. So all these teams who seem safe right now will not be as that next zone closes in. Cybercats just about survive as Alliance get eliminated. We have 8 squads still in this final circle.
It's pulling out into no man's land. Yep. If you've got a Newcastle in your composition, that's going to be very, very good news. Just to slam a wall down towards this endgame and be able to play from the artificial cover. Rampart also will have an impact. Getting that amped cover down. The SPS at the moment still alive inside of green, still safe.
It's tough to say who's in the best position right now because so many teams are compromised. I think Take Flight is just a 2. No, there are 3. There are 3. Okay, so Take Flight, even though they are without teams below them, they are just so vulnerable when they drop as Cybercats get deleted by Sheila. Maybe Passion, there's something to be said about their position at the moment. Again, they are on their own in the building, but they are so vulnerable to being shot by both sides. This is a really tough zone to try and call anyone who's a potential favorite here. So a lot of it's going to come down to actual gun ability here and maybe who is brave enough to move first.
Slam on the outside. Kishera's going to pick this 407. Doesn't get the knock though. It takes a little bit of damage. Has to retreat back into that building. Sheila deleting artificial cover at the moment. Let's take Flyte. Finding themselves in a little bit of a sticky spot here on the outside of the zone. Passion trying to survive as well. ONIC still alive inside of that building. I think the teams inside of green are going to be safer for longer than the other building you can see in the distance here. So they're going to be able to play that cover. SPS make their play though, trying to get these kills on the outside.
Yeah, this could be a big fight if you win this one, but because you've lost 2 already, can you even... I don't even know if you have time to get back up here. We'll have to see. It's going to be a race against the zone. All the meanwhile, you can see the impact it's having on this southeast building. Empire are holding the top of it and look to be one of the better situated teams right now in terms of damage, but now this is the drop.
They're going to drop onto ONIC Esports, I think this is. They've also got Passion in front of them, SPS. They were the last to go, but the next to go is so difficult to call here. ONIC now going to feel Sheila. And that is going to give Empire Gaming the win. They slam middle zone. They turn their attention to the fight happening in front. And it's going to be Rampart who influences how this game goes. And boy, that was a difficult one to call down. That was a fun game number 5.
Yeah, Empire send themselves up to 2nd place in the overalls, I believe. And yeah, a very difficult one to say who's the kind of favorite when you're looking at the map and you just see a bunch of teams in the same building. But the fact that Empire had the high ground over everyone and they had cover to work with as well. And I love what they did. When they dropped, they didn't just get sucked into the fight. There was obviously a call to say, look, we can retreat from this one slightly, take middle of the map, and then it's just going to be a free win as we can watch over everything. We would have seen a lot of teams there maybe overcommitting to that fight, got a little bit excited, a little bit nervous about what was happening around them, but someone had the wise words to say, look, we are free if we just move away from this transition fight.
Yeah, really, really impressive stuff. I think just having that height advantage towards the end game as well, they could see what side of the zone was going to be clear, right? They had so many shots onto the likes of SPS, were able to clear that side of the zone and then just castle walling out to face back onto where the rest of the action was. Really, really well played from them. And to be honest with you, I thought the teams that were in green might have a bit of a better opportunity, but of course it's difficult to leave green when there's multiple teams stacked up in there. Even though they were safer for longer, at some point they all had to leave and they just ended up cannibalizing each other. Empire Gaming with 15 KP alongside the 12 gives them 27 points and gives us yet another winner today. 5 matches, 5 different winners.
Well, yeah, it has been all over the place here in EMEA, and that does mean it could be a very interesting ending. But Liffin with 8 kills for Empire Gaming does give them the opportunity to potentially win this series going into match 6. They are catching up FaZe Clan, and even though FaZe Clan have just been able to keep arm's length away from everyone, just being in that touching distance does give some of these teams the opportunity going into the last one.
Well, this is how it looks in the series at the moment. Like you mentioned, FaZe still with a pretty commanding lead, you would say, going into the final game of today on 61 points. But Empire Gaming, look how close it is behind. Empire Gaming 48, ONIC 46, Alliance 43, Roadhouse 43, Citadel 41, and UAIM just behind them as well. The leaderboard is going to change significantly in this final game, and that's kind of been synonymous with EMEA so far this season. It feels like every single match week is going down to that final game that's going to give such a big impact on how the final standings look.
Yeah, FaZe Clan seems like they have done most of the work on E-District, but if we see one of those incredibly huge games again from any of these teams that are chasing them, there's still a chance they could overtake FaZe here.
All right, go and grab some stacks, grab a drink, because game number 6 is coming up, the final one of the day, just after this break. We'll be back in just a few moments' time.
Need a breather, Wally. Should I slow down?
Ah, now that's a work of art right there.
Of course you think that. You've got one bloody eye.
Uh-oh. Just walk it off. Yeah, you'll be all right. Oh, guess not.
Putting my heart out there.
Wrecking ball's fired up, literally, cuz.
Some days it's just too easy.
Finally. Thought it'd never shut up.
Well, funny thing about a wild card, they always turn up again.
Welcome back again, everybody, to the ALGS EMEA Pro League, and we got one more game to get concluded here today. Game number 6 is coming up. World's Edge is going to be where we stand, and we've had 5 different winners across 5 different games. Will we see one team repeat it today? Will we see FaZe hold on to that first place spot, or will we see 6 different winners and a complete shake-up here at the end of these games?
And a little bit of a shake-up of legend selection as well, with Ashe and Pathfinder being banned, which is not something we typically see. This match 6 is going to be an interesting one. Like, I'm trying to think of a legend that you can play that can give you a little bit of coverage and ability from point A to point B, but you've now lost Alter, Wraith, Ashe, and Pathfinder. Where do you even go from here? This is what you're going to see a few more teams just going for potentially a bit of Mad Maggie in action.
A little bit of Bangalore might be the only option I can think of, like for smokes to cross. But again, it's one of those, isn't it? It's like, if you're a team right now, do you play for a particular zone? Do you say, hey, we've just had a skyhook zone, so there's probably not going to be another skyhook zone, so do we go for something that's going to give us a little bit more artificial cover? It's a difficult one, right? I'm interested to see how the compositions look as we take a look back on the final circle from match number 5, and it was the team up on the ultimate height that ended up winning it here, Dan.
They did indeed. I mean, when we were looking at it, it's trying to deduce who is the best team in terms of position, and it's very difficult to work out when there's this many squads, because it sometimes comes down to what the teams below do to you. Do they commit early? Do they commit late? Can they frustrate you by holding you out? But in the end, we saw, I think, Citadel take an early position. Flyte also tried to find a spot. Oh, sorry, it's Passion that tried to take an early spot. But in the end, it was just a little bit too early they were able to be focused on. But Empire just had the extra bit of coverage, and having the Newcastle with the shield here alongside the amped cover just meant that they were in priorities. But look, here, they drop down, they take a couple of shots, and they say, actually, we don't need to be taking this fight. There is no one behind us. On me, castle wall, and then it is just a simple cleanup from this point.
It's Sheila Fest in the final moments to clean things up for Empire Gaming, giving them their first win of the day. But we was kind of talking about counter comps, counter play styles, and we've seen a fair bit of that today actually in EMEA, and it's kind of led into this discussion that we're having about what legends we're going to see. Like Pathfinder banned, I think for the first time this year, it feels like. First time this split for sure. As we head into match number 6, 5 different winners. I'm very interested to see what these compositions look like, Dan, as we take a look at the bans.
Yep, I'm looking across all of the previous match weeks, and I think you might be correct. I don't think we've seen a Pathfinder banned in any... Oh, no, we have. Okay, so EMEA, technically, we would have seen a Pathfinder ban going into match 7 last week. But that was game 6. Pathfinder became the most prevalent, but of course, technically didn't get banned because it was the last match. But yeah, we are seeing Pathfinder pop up again, and that was because we had already lost Ash, we'd lost Wraith, we'd lost Alter, but because we've lost them a game earlier here, that means that this match 6 is very interesting in terms of where you go for your comp. And yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Bangalore seems to be the most used here. We are seeing a little bit more Mad Maggie coming in as well. Plenty of Sparrow, but 13 Bangalores just to try and give you that smoke for coverage from moving from point A to point B.
Well, that's going to be the go-to then. Bangalore is going to be what we're going to be looking at. There's your pick rates at the top of the screen for you. Wondering who's going to be picked here. A lot of Maggie. And there is the map overhead. And I said, hey, we've had a skyhook zone. Surely we don't have another one that's going to be around buildings. Well, we might have a monument finish here. Although the way that it's shaping up, it looks like it might be North Monument. But we do see him pulling down to the south as well. Again, a difficult read here. I think this is one where you're hoping that your scrims have presented you with a similar zone and you're going to get an idea of where this end game is going to pull to.
It's a long move for FaZe Clan down at Tree again. That's going to be a second zone where they're going to have to move the majority of the map. Not a bad one for Empire Gaming, though, who are in second place. And they do have a ring console at Overlook. So they can move pretty fast to where they believe this is going to be if they want to play that way. But having the Rampart and the Newcastle, you'd imagine they're going to try and play zone pretty early. Legion Gaming also, I believe, have a ring console up to the northeast. 07 have just been able to hit one as well from Survey Camp. So they're going to be moving pretty quick.
Yeah, 07 have got a really, really good opportunity here for Prio. Like you mentioned, they've got Epi, Survey, both POIs to themselves. So they're going to be able to hit that console. You saw them hitting the evac to all join up back together. And I wonder if they play the height here to look for KP and a potential northern pull. It's a tough one to call as an IGL, I feel. It's a safe position to play from, but if it does pull down to that south, then 07 are going to have some trouble, especially, like we've mentioned, with the lack of characters that give you that transitional ability, those micro rotates. So the legend ban's really affecting things here. But the good news for most players and most people here is that there's going to be a lot of space to play. So you're not going to have to rely on that too much in this game number 6.
And something that we've not necessarily spoke a lot on since the change happened, where if you hit a ring console, you get an automatic balloon that just pops out that you can transition very quickly to. But that has sped up the process of moving into zone. So you have to be very aware of your surroundings if you are in an area where the zone is coming towards you, because people are going to be there so fast now after hitting those ring consoles and getting an instant redeploy that they can work with. So if you're not aware and you find yourself caught out, then you just might be able to, you just get split up and then you're going to lose that prio. So I think people are on their toes a little bit more nowadays, just aware that people are going to be very quick to zone.
Two teams who aren't going to be quick to zone are fighting on screen right now. Looking to fight, it's going to be cybercats and Ronin. So it looks like Ronin have decided to retreat from this position. The cybercats will be granted the ability to grab Evo Harvester uncontested. So both of these teams essentially working towards purples to try and find their way in towards zone. Looking if there's any outliers here. Citadel Gaming are taking their time over at Trials. Understandably, a long way for them to go relative to how quickly everyone else is going to get prio to this zone, but we all know that Skyhook and West is going to give you the best loot from any POI on the map. Cybercats having a little look back here because Nate is a little bit cheeky over on the egg building. He's a little bit separated actually from the rest of his team here on Ronin, so Nate's got to be careful.
Yeah, you don't want to be separated this early and just allow someone to kind of walk in on you and take your spot away from you and beat you in the rotation or beat you to prio. And you can see how congested it is at Monument already. Now the late movers, however, it's going to be a very different story for them. Ronin continue to see if they can work their way through on that side, but cybercats holding them out to their best ability, but some good damage coming out from Ronin allow them to push forward, and they are going to take this fight.
Not mistaken as well, cybercats playing the lifeline. I saw them running through an enemy lifeline ult here. If you can get rid of that early and burn it, it makes the fight a little bit more comfortable for you. MG Clutch wants to peek here, but he doesn't want to get isolated. Has to hit this big shot and will be able to. Should be able to do some more damage as well. Teammate is there to clean that one up, and Ronin now completely in control. cybercats eliminated. Their day is over, and Ronin will win that fight.
A tough day for the cybercats. And they were down in 16th position, and they could drop even lower after this game. Now Alliance also taking a fight, but it looks like maybe could be a tough one because Effect has already gone down. There could be the option to retreat away from this one if they would like to here, Alliance, and it looks like that's going to be the call that's made. Run, get a little bit of a respawn situation here going on.
Yeah, interesting. Effect seemed a little bit split from the rest of Alliance. I don't know exactly how that happened, but got caught out a little bit there. Alliance will be able to reset. They should be able to reset pretty comfortably. They don't have the banner at the moment, just looking at where they can get to Climatizer and craft if they need to. But with the zone closing in, it is going to be a very, very slow rotate for them to have to make. So Alliance is going to have to pick the pieces, put themselves back together before they think about even getting near this zone at the moment.
We should avoid that zone.
And that's good news for the likes of GoNext, who of course are watching on. They're in first place in the overalls at the moment, but if Alliance do just drop down the leaderboards a little bit here, don't get as much points, then GoNext can still be going into their next match day with a real opportunity of holding on to that first position when they equal the games played. But Alliance will go into Climatizer, as you had mentioned, and they are going to be alone there. No one's going to be in Climatizer, so it will be a free craft, but it's going to be a long journey back. It's now Citadel Gaming on the hunt.
This is aggressive comp. No artificial cover from these characters. It's going to be all about damage output. Zuni has to walk through the ring of fire to get into a position to hold here. King's going to jump up after him. Kaiser's going to catch that, excuse me, but his teammate's gone down now. And this fight has turned on its head a little bit. Kaiser has to hit big shots here. He's got one more opportunity. He misses the shot, though. And King will find two. Remix Power's now left on his own.
Yeah, this is all falling apart for Citadel. Is it? It's a 1v2, I think.
It is.
Remix might have to take this fight. I don't know if you're going to have time to run away here because it's aggression on the flip side. Oh,
it makes it a 1v1. I was going to say, one thing you can't do is go in on your own and give it your opposition the chance to clutch, but looks like Killer Whales get away with that one a little bit. They will be able to reset here in Citadel Gaming. Their day comes to an end as well, and they were up there. They were in the mix, and that's going to be a difficult loss to take in a game number 6.
Killer Whales still survive and give themselves the slim chance of trying to take this entire series, but remember, FaZe Clan are still in first, and FaZe Clan have been slowly but surely working their way towards zone. They find themselves in Fragment at the moment, not quite towards Monument, but certainly in a position where they can close in and maybe bully some teams out to take that spot. As Alliance still on the north at Survey Camp, and you can see FaZe holding out Ronin at the moment on that southeastern fragment, which they'll be safe right now, but Full will be the team they're going to have to try and take down if they want to get into that next zone.
Yeah, Lion's going to hit console here, not just for Evo, but to give them the info. It's not going to give them much, though. You can see Monument is completely encircled by where this zone is going. I wonder if it's going to pull up just to the north of where Empire Gaming are. Sometimes playing that ramp outside can be a really good spot in the end game. Not so much of a building, but it gives you really good coverage with everybody else stacked up inside of it. It's just to the south of the bridge of Epicenter. But it is a position you have to play late. Ronin taking some damage. Nate trying to escape. MG Clutch, though. He's got a Peacekeeper. Zane's only got the R9.
Zane needs help, does get help as well, and FaZe doing well with a bait and switch at the moment. They're all very tricky to try and deal with, but Snetic has fallen. Is going to be a response from Nags, though. I think this is a 2v2.
2v2 for now. He's going to try and stick this res. Doesn't have the support perk, though, so he's going to have to heal up when he gets back on his feet here, Snetic. Nomai goes in to try and get the re. Not going to be able to, though, and as this fight has taken place, FUL now looking to move in and take advantage of the damage being done, and FaZe now have to escape. And if they go down here, well, it's anyone's game.
Yeah, it really does open things up if FaZe were to fall. Snetic, though, just about escapes, and if you want anyone to get away, the Crypto can sometimes be that perfect player, because maybe you can grab those banners via the drone. You can see the shots being sent over towards him as they're trying to get the scarpering Cinetic, but now I think another team arriving might just give him a passage to escape, and FaZe live on for now.
Ronin were eliminated in that scuffle, by the way, by FUL, so that'll be the end of their day as well. Moving into train station now, FUL. Kuro does a good job just to claim that door as well, reinforces it, but that's going to be knocked down. The train station's very, very busy at the moment. And Moisten's going to have to hit some big shots here to force this team away.
Checking every angle, checking every nook and cranny to see if anyone was hiding, but they can't quite find them. And that zone will now close anyone who was outside of it just into the likes of Fragment and Monument. But FaZe still alive. Cinetic has been able to escape, but are you able to get the banners? Are you able to get back up to a full 3?
There's a crafter on that southern side.
That's what I mean. It's not impossible for FaZe, but it's certainly not going to be easy. You can see he is making his way there. SPS will be the team that's closest to shut FaZe down. Now, to give you an idea of the numbers, FaZe are currently 14 points ahead of Empire Gaming. Now, that is not unachievable by any means. Empire Gaming have found themselves on that eastern side of Monument, so they're certainly in the conversation for that final circle.
The circle pulls all the way to the western side of Monument here. It'd be really interesting to see where this actually ends up going. Elsewhere on the train station outside of Grandma's, you've got a couple of teams looking to fight. Alliance are one of them being forced to fight at the moment. FX has taken damage, output some damage as he always does as well, but Unlucky and Hackis, they're struggling at the moment. Few to get away with 1 HP, and that will be the end of Alliance's day as well. And we are losing our teams that are at the top of the leaderboards, and with FaZe still alive, it might just be a case of surviving is enough.
Yeah, just try and get any and all placement points available if you're FaZe. If you can get to top 15, you get 1 placement point, and that could just be enough. If we still see these top teams dropping, Alliance going, Citadel going, that does open up the top 5 though. The likes of Killer Whales, UAIM, 07, who are chasing very important points for their overalls.
Got the banners.
Got the banners, and your nifty little drone, you can head down and maybe get a res here.
SPS still in that building. I wonder if Cinetic's just going to wait to hit this respawn until teams are forced to move. He's going to be safe where he is at the moment. So Cinetic trying to weigh up his options in this situation. A couple of knocks coming in the feed in the meantime from nades. Not going to be able to be converted upon. But Cinetic is doing everything he needs to do in this situation. That's going to be the target. But it's all about the timing of this res here.
And also by delaying the res, it just keeps him invisible, keeps him unknown, and keeps them with their chances of getting an extra placement point up into the top 15, which is going to be the first priority here. And also gaining info where that zone's going to be. And the zone is just going to be continuing to transition to the western side of Monument, southwest side to be particular, where UAIM and Take Flight currently reside.
I see an enemy over there.
And the real question is, can we see a team like Empire or ONIC actually put enough points on the board to threaten FaZe's position in first place?
07, we mentioned how if the zone pulled towards the north of Monument, they're going to be in a good spot, but now that it's pulled away from them, they have to get aggressive, and Tyler is doing just that, but he gets pumped. Kishera now looking to hit some shots. It's all up to Naski, though. It's a 1v1 hit. Zampe has his shields broken, and Naski decides not to commit. Looks to sit the res, but he might have just lost the timing here. Brings the PK back up. Zampe's going to peek. Couple of fences going down on either side at the moment. Try and control the space.
Dear.
Legion Gaming will be eliminated. Naski will clutch. But there is a team on height here, and with this reset coming in, the question is, will Endorse look to collapse?
ONIC under fire at the moment. Remember, they're in 3rd place right now. They're one of the chasing teams. 47 points, but it looks like they might be looking at what happens elsewhere to see if they can hold on to top 3, but just one survivor left. Oh, squeaks through the gap, and just about ONIC live to fight another day right now.
FUL eliminated too. FaZe have respawned. In the bottom right hand side of your screen, you can see that FaZe are back into this game. They waited for SPS to have to engage somewhere, and with SPS taking a loss as well, the walk-in for FaZe becomes a little bit more comfortable. ONIC still alive though.
ONIC still alive, but as a 1. The main threat being Empire Gaming to FaZe Clan's chances of winning this series. FaZe still heavy favorites. They've got that 1 extra placement by being in the top 15, but if they can now get a couple of kills on the board, it may just put them out of touching distance for the likes of Empire. They are hugging this wall, and is there a team there? They've noticed where SBS are, and they are going to continue to push SBS here.
Just going to take a second here to pop a shield cell before they want to push.
Oh dear.
Getting chunked in the back. It's going to hurt. Should be able safe enough to get a battery popped here. But SBS now taking damage. FaZe will take this fight. 07 eliminated elsewhere. And SJP2 will be next. 12 squads now remain. As ONIC will fall as well, and FaZe might have just done enough now.
And that will open things up to Roadhouse, who are sitting in 4th position. Remember, at the start of today, I was saying Roadhouse need to be pushing themselves up into the top 3 in the overalls if they want to have a chance at getting to Sapporo. And this might give them that perfect chance now to try and push themselves into said top 3 in these series standings. As FaZe are bouncing back and forth, but it is going to come down to Nags now.
He's going to get pushed here. I don't think he can survive this. Even with that R9 spray, FaZe will be eliminated. And now Roadhouse have the chance. FaZe gone. And Empire Gaming also with an opportunity. Still in this lobby. 53 points on the board. But with FaZe gone, there's enough points for them to gather here to take first away.
Yeah, they are 12 points shy of FaZe Clan. This is very doable, especially if they can win this fight. It's a big one that they're going to take in the Gibby bubble.
Oh, big damage. Oh, it's almost perfect. From Versate, Passion eliminate a clean squad wipe here, but they still have to work their way into zone here. The work is not done for Empire.
Yeah, this is tough to get into it because the building takes up so much coverage of this zone, and sadly, they are not within said buildings. They're going to have to go around. They need to just get back up to a full set of health and move together here, which is exactly what they're doing. They're going to be slightly held out by UAIM. And they have been spotted, but it looks like now they've been able to find a safe place and have found themselves within zone.
Roadhouse has been eliminated as well, so that's them gone. So all eyes on Empire, essentially, to see if they can take away first place. Endorse, though, having to res here. We'll be able to get 1 player up. Phoenix still on his knees. They're going to try and get him back up as well. ZiPLina Mafia. Try and move to a more central position, but look at the fortress that Empire Gaming have built. Castle wall, amped cover, PKs at the ready.
They're now 8 points away from FaZe. They can get into the top 3 with some kills. They're going to be so close to taking this entire series. But remember, Killer Whales still alive. If they can get kill after kill after kill, they can jump into the top 3 here and also compete for that top 2 position. Maybe just a little bit too far away from first right now. But Killer Whales, who at one point were in last place after a few games, now suddenly find themselves in the top 5 and a chance to compete for top 3.
Nom and Endorse have gone down as well. We're starting to get into the final moments of this game. 5 squads remaining. Empire Gaming with 6 KP to their name at the moment. ZiPLina Mafia, though. A little bit of a peek, a little bit of a prod, trying to fence them into this building. Lyfin with a really good swing, with really good damage and a fantastic knock for this situation.
Rolled the dice with some P2020 shots, and they connected. They get the knock, but they don't commit to that fight. Instead, they're just holding out ZiPLina Mafia right now, but with all that damage, now they start to get a bit more aggressive.
Arctic ain't missing. Arctic! ZiPLina Mafia become his victims. Empire Gaming won first place.
Now they find themselves 3 points behind FaZe Clan here. 1 more squad wipe, and they would be joint first, plus that would give them a placement point, and they would win this entire series.
4 squads remain. Killer Whales still in this. Looking to put themselves into a great position in the final standings as well. But Empire Gaming, like you say, 3 points away from stealing first place in match day 7 away from FaZe Clan. KP might be in front of them here, Dan.
Yeah, again, those P2020s just being spammed across. See if you can connect anything. Gibby Bubble does go down. Oh, but the cat wall, the Dark Veil, maybe just holds them back here. I don't know if they want to push through this, but they commit. Gotta be careful.
Trying to keep the pressure on, but now the noise has been made. Lyfin with some more fantastic mid-range P20 shots. Will slow down.
Oh my.
UAIM. Empire Game is still healthy. King. He's down. There's think Flyte have been eliminated as top 3 now.
And Empire Gaming, they get the points. They take first place away from FaZe, but they might be able to seal this with a win if they can get back and healthy. You can see they are struggling at the moment. The nades come in, but they do have the Newcastle to get the rest. But sadly, aggression from the other side to push it onto Empire, but you go out with a bang.
UAIM will be the winners of game number 6, but the story was all Empire's. A fantastic game 6 performance from them will mean that they will win today. They will win the series. And you gotta say, they deserved it, Dan. That final game performance was absolutely astronomical.
I mean, the win in match 5 into then the top 2 in match 6 to push themselves into first place. FaZe will maybe be a little bit frustrated they weren't able to close that one out after the incredible start they had on E-District. But again, that's how quickly things can change in the ALGS with just a couple of good games, especially when you're playing that well. Rain Day, Empire Gaming just sweep it away from FaZe Clan. They pull the rug right from underneath them, and those points could be vital for their chances of trying to get towards Sapporo.
Well, it's like they always say, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Empire Gaming find the perfect answer to a bit of a slower start into what will now be their first match day win, I believe, here in the ALGS. An incredible performance from them towards the back half of this on World's Edge. And you could tell why these teams, when we got into it and said most of the teams here prioritize World's Edge in terms of their draft picks, this is the reason why. The entire series was won based on performances from here. And while I am remiss to say FaZe Clan, they narrowly missed out. They certainly earned some great points today. They'll be expecting a win. They'll hope for a win next time around. It has to be Empire Gaming and their ability to come forward at the moment when they needed it most to grab these points. And when it comes to championships, guys, this is the type of team that needs the championship points. This is not a given for them. They need the regional final wins. They potentially need the LCQ. So getting it into a place where they are safer or at least close to avoiding some of those things, that is a massive deal, Mark, if they're really able to pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned at the top of the show, every point, every kill, every placement gives you something to work towards Sapporo. And that's, I think, for every single team, if you were to say at the start of the year, what do you want to achieve? Getting to champs is going to be that answer. If it's not, then you're probably in the wrong business, because that's what everyone wants to play for. And we are seeing it now in EMEA. I think we're seeing people not being afraid to try different comps, to try and force those points, to try and get ahead of the meta and the legends that everyone else is picking. It's been a fascinating week. I've got to say, yesterday, EMEA looked a bit shaky, but today I was really impressed with what we saw.
Yeah, and you talk about, Visate, Liffin, Arctic, who formerly FaZe Clan, formerly EXO, and now finding his way here is a bunch of, this is that shuffling of the pack that we've talked about, finding a home maybe at the right time, representing an org that's been in Apex for a while too, and allowing us to kind of see the different iterations of the squad from different regions as well. Now we get to see it here in EMEA's having its day. So congratulations to Empire Gaming. I know we got some standings, probably in terms of overall standings, to take a look at in a moment. But Dan, just taking back at 6, it did seem like FaZe Clan's day, but how can we not just put it all on Empire with the performance that they've had towards the back 2?
Yeah, the fact that they've done that in the last 2 matches, I think that they can be very proud of themselves, because especially when you're under that kind of pressure, you know that FaZe Clan have that kind of lead on you. But as soon as they saw FaZe Clan eliminated in that kill feed, they probably thought, we have a real chance here, especially with how they were playing. They were playing very successfully together, pushing the right things in the right areas, and very successful flanks that were going down as well. It didn't seem like they were too panicked, and just hitting shots, which we always say, sometimes it matters. Just getting that gun ability out and showing what you're made of, especially in a meta like this where the PK hits so hard. It can be a scenario where you can really find yourself in a good spot just by hitting some shots here.
While we wait to confirm the overall standings, let's take a look at the series overall here, because of course this was an incredible run. Match 6, it left UAIM at the top. That's a great win for them morale-wise, but sometimes those final wins, the match is already decided, so it doesn't keep that energy the way you might have hoped for. A team like Empire Gaming getting to second, that's where it felt like they climbed the mountain and they stuck their flag out on top. That is what they wanted. And notably, Killer Whales too, 14 points there. They've got to be the other big story for me throughout the day. They had such a great turnaround on World's Edge, starting with Thermal, getting that win, which took them from 5 points to 36 points, and now adding 14 onto that in this game. They're at 50 points. They're top 4. That, Mark, I know you were watching on the sidelines there. That speaks volumes of Killer Whales as well and their potential. Maybe you haven't put it together enough consistently throughout this split, but certainly have the potential to be a team that is reckoned with.
Yeah, I think they've got some work to do on E-District for sure. I mean, on E-District, didn't look good, I'll be honest, but on World's Edge looked like a completely different team, and maybe it's zones, maybe it's just comfort, whatever it might be. Killer Whales did certainly get the confidence from that big win on Thermal, and I think, yeah, why not? Let's keep an eye on them to see if the E-District improves, and maybe the results will keep improving and heading the right way.
Dan, speaking of E-District, did you have any awarenesses with how these comps played out? Anything you felt like kind of got forced to be used a little bit earlier on, wasn't available for World's Edge, that would have been more comfortable for some of these teams? We know a lot of kind of shooting off the rip went to FaZe Clan on that map and then slowed down a little bit towards the World's Edge side. Why do you think that is?
I think that bans were fairly similar from matches 1 and 2, but it was 3 onward where things started to change. When we saw the early exit of Ash, for example, that meant that we had a lot more Pathfinders then come into the equation. And then that last game was just, you know, what is left at that point? You see people go for Bangalore, you see people just trying to get smokes on the board, which it just meant for a very chaotic last match. And I think that one thing we're seeing develop with this meta at the moment is that people are trying something a little bit different, and how everything gets shaken up just by one single ban not going the same way as scrims. And that's one way of looking at it, is that yes, these teams will practice, yes, scrims will go one way, but also it gives teams an idea of what the bans are going to be. And if more than 5 teams suddenly decide we're going to go against the grain here, it changes everything going into the series for those legend comps.
I'm excited to keep an eye on it. We got America's coming up as well. We're not done with the ALGS action, just finishing up our EMEAs here. And with that, we have to shout out our Sony in-zone kill leaders. Today, it is a very special shout out to Empire Gaming's Liffin, who takes the top spot, but Zane is tied with him as well with 19 points. A huge shout out for them. I gotta say too, King Victor, Max Strafey, off UAIM, that's a really great stat for the day. I know they won that last game, it got a little overshadowed, but let's talk a little bit more about Liffin. Mark, what did you like about this Rampart, this kind of player who just made things happen for this squad today to get the win?
I think make things happen is a really good way to describe that final game. And the P20s, I gotta say, we've all had them in our hands. We all know, even when they were even stronger, right, that hitting the shots close range felt a lot of fun. Getting hit by them, not so much fun. But at mid-range, you're never quite sure with the Bloom, but he was hitting some really important shots, not just for kills, but that one there to force away the player from UAIM who was just looking to peek over, see if they can get a pick to third party, just gave them the opportunity to then just reset a little bit and focus on the fight that was in front of them. So I think those P20 kills and damage that was output in that final game was something that really stood out to me.
To me too, another thing, Dan, is the consistency. Our other kill leader as well was able yesterday in Henchman to play Watson, I believe 4 out of the 6 games. And you can see here with Liffin able to play Rampart 5 out of the 6 games. There's something to do with the consistency of being able to stay on a legend that doesn't get banned to keep your momentum rolling.
Definitely helps for some players, definitely helps for damage output as well when you get to have Sheila alongside you and just being able to rain down hell from teams that are either below you or even just opposite you. So that's going to be one of the key reasons why the damage was so impressive. But ultimately, we have to look at the teams that were at the top of the leaderboard today. Is a few of them that need to have that qualification into regional finals and then probably to win regional finals. If you're not going to win Pro League, you probably have to win regional finals to qualify for Sapporo. So very important that they get big points on the board today to try and secure that spot into regional finals at least.
All these things coming up in just a second for us to kind of dive into a little bit. I know we're still working on those overall standings in terms of how it sits for EMEA, but just to kind of set in on the day as well, I'm really interested in kind of what this means for the Americas looking ahead a little bit. I know EMEA and Americas have kind of started to shift a little bit more in terms of their priority for certain legends, but for me, it was the big talk about Gibraltar into match day 6 yesterday. Our rotation with Stormpoint now obviously coming into E-District. Now we had a whole different look. E-District starting things off, forcing some of the earlier bans to the legends that made mobility really comfortable, and then doing what you would hope to do, which is be consistent and be effective with your map pick that you probably prioritize on World's Edge. It was a different level of trying to finesse either being successful towards the back end or starting off strong yesterday. So I'm curious if the Americas have a similar kind of shift in the tone of the day, where it's a little bit more of a slow burn until they get into their momentum. Speaking of momentum, there's a guy who just did not stop at all today alongside Liffin and his squad mate Vazate. It was Arctic who was able to overtake his former team in FaZe to come over with the win for Empire Gaming in match day 7 in EMEA's. Let's talk to him. Arctic, what's going on, man? Congratulations.
Yeah, what's good, guys? Thank you.
Obviously, I just think that you guys had a fantastic game, but I want to hear what it was like going in your mind. What team comms was happening? What was your journey personally, knowing that you guys had to pop off in those final 2 games, and you did so? Was it just let's just keep this rolling? Did you guys have a different plan of attack that you utilized for those final 2 games? What went on behind the scenes that we didn't get to see?
I don't know. We had like 19 points in the first 4 games, and on that 4th game, we got 2v3 by Alliance. Hackers like hit us all with a Skynade. And I said to the boys after it, I was like, we're being so passive right now. We need to be aggressive. Like, I can't be the only one creating penetration, entering fights. Like, the boys need to pick it up and be more proactive. And they did exactly that for the last 2 games. They were called in as well. They were being more aggressive than I was. And it just worked. Every fight was just easily done. Every fight was just over in a matter of seconds. And it just made the game really easy for us.
I want to jump in with a question off the back of that. Firstly, congratulations on the win today, but talk me through the last game, because you probably saw in the feed, like FaZe went out, Alliance went out, and then you won like a couple of fights, and it just felt like momentum was building and building to you. Were you aware of the teams falling around you and what you had to do to take away first place?
We saw a couple of the teams that were around us die early. And we knew that, like, okay, we're in a good spot to like finish well on this day. Like, we can win this, but we're definitely gonna like guarantee top 5. Let's make the most of it we can. And I didn't want to slow the aggression down at any point. I was just trying to fight everyone around us, putting pressure out, trying to kill everything, and it just worked. Like, everyone just fell over. Like, our comms, our fucking aggression, it was just perfect.
Was it nice to take down your previous org of FaZe? Is there any bad blood there for you?
There's no bad blood. I wouldn't say. It is bittersweet, you know. Like, I've come into the IGL role, like myself this split, and the start was rough. We've been on and off the whole time, and I'm so glad now that I get to show what I'm capable of as an IGL and compete with, you know, my previous teammates, my previous IGL who kicked me.
I mean, that says a lot as well. They had a great day too, but notably you guys won on probably a smaller amount of points than we've seen. There's the Go Next day yesterday where they had about 80 or so points. We've seen Alliance do that 3 or 4 times in EMEA. What to you made today's games a little slower, a little less top heavy, and more competitive throughout?
Well, there's usually like the giants, right? Like Alliance usually does really well, and FaZe usually does quite well. And some of the teams today that should be on top, like, weren't doing as great. Maybe they had an off day. Maybe it just wasn't as easy as they thought it was going to be. So there was a lot less dominance, and there was way more room for teams to climb up. And everything was so close together. Like, I saw in like the last few games, we were 10 points from 5th when we were in 18th or something, and it was really close, and we managed to just squeeze every point out of those last 2 games and overtake them all somehow. I don't know.
You know, we have you here. It's been a great interview. I kind of have to now just close it out, but just one little question. What do you guys think you have to do to qualify for champs? What is your sights set on in terms of what you'll be happy with and that you think will give you a chance to make it into Sapporo?
I think we're definitely going to have to win the regional finals, and I think we're very capable. I've won regional finals before in this region, and I think we can do it. Just need a little bit more time to work on my IGLing and iron out the mistakes that we've been making these past few days, and I think we have a really good shot.
Well, that ding was almost like ding, 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 right answer there, wherever I heard that from. Congratulations, Arctic, and taking not just down FaZe, but bringing up Empire as the IGL. That's got to be pretty exciting. Go ahead and celebrate with them and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Congratulations on your win in match day 7.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Arctic from Empire. Mark, strong words. He says he needs to win regional finals.
Yeah, I mean, they know what they need to do. Sometimes when you know it's as simple as that, it's about finding form and then just getting the job done. You don't overthink it. You know what you have to achieve. So he knows what they got to do. Now they just got to go and do it.
Dan, I like how you brought up the question about FaZe. Little chip on his shoulder, energy, maybe just something to prove that's really helping to light a fire underneath Arctic, knowing that he did get kicked, but also now it's his time to say, hey, this is why I deserve to be at the forefront of EMEA.
Yeah, says no bad blood, but then does mention that he got kicked from the team. I do like that as well. But, you know, you're always going to remember those things. And as we look now at the overall standings, we've got to start thinking about regional finals. Because for a lot of these teams, the only way they can get to Sapporo is by winning regional finals. The points total is not going to be enough for them. They're going to be too far off. So for the likes of Empire, the fact now they find themselves on 71 points, they've got their spot in regional finals. They have found their place there, and they now can just focus on and dedicating their time into practicing, getting better, and locking in that chance of winning regional finals. And the same could go for the likes of Roadhouse, for example. Roadhouse, even though they are slightly closer in the overalls, if they drop down a little bit here, they might have to go to regional finals to get there. FaZe Clan have to win regional finals if they want to get there as well. Because now, looking at the gap of how far you are behind first place, winning Pro League suddenly is becoming a little bit more difficult, and that's why your eyes suddenly become set on regional finals.
And I also have to say, it is going to be hype. It is going to be really hype. October 12th, mark it on your calendars, because if we have a team like Empire win regional finals and that just books their ticket to Japan, you know the celebrations are going to be something for the internet to marvel at. It is going to go viral. It's going to be a great moment. So do not miss it. October 12th. Us three will be back for closing out this season and seeing who will find their way into Sapporo. Mark, Dan, closing thoughts. I'll start with you, Mark. After 6 games in EMEA, what is your takeaway as we head into the Americas in a couple hours?
It feels like the competition's starting to heat up. I feel like we're getting a few teams who are sort of establishing themselves at the top of the leaderboards when it comes to what we can expect to be the representation for EMEA when we do get towards Sapporo. But it also, you know, we're seeing a few teams really step up here, the likes of Empire Gaming, who might cause some problems in regional finals. I'm very excited. I'm also got to say, I'm very excited for Americas. I think Americas is going to be one of the most exciting days we've had in quite a while. I love a rivalry, like Newcastle Arsenal, for example. I love that one. Big fan of that one as well. Yeah. So just
Dan, your thoughts here after 6.
Well, we started the show, Mark was very sad, but now Mark is very happy. So that ultimately makes me happier.
I'm in a great mood.
When he's in a good mood, going into Americas, you know it's going to be a good day. EMEA has been very entertaining, but I'm sure that Americas is going to provide just as much, if not even more, entertainment for us, so you don't want to miss it.
Speaking of that, I forgot to DoorDash my lunch here in this hour-long break. I don't know if I'm going to make it, guys. You might have to start the show without me. But before we do, we'll say goodbye and let you get started on your lunch breaks here, Dan and Mark. Great job. All right, everybody, it's been a fun day of EMEAs, and we have more fun coming for you. If you follow us on our socials, make sure to remember that there is a giveaway coming up. And, of course, the Americas, which we've just talked about, coming up in a couple of hours as well. And this one you do not want to miss. That rivalry they were talking about, Falcons and ZZ. Zero and Hal split after teaming up. The super team is no more. And we'll see who comes out on top in their first official battle. Okay, I had mentioned this a little earlier, but if you want to follow us, there are some real good reasons to do so now. On TikTok and on Instagram, we're doing a giveaway of 11,500 coins each. If you could do the math fast, or you could read pretty quickly, it's 23,000 coins overall. That's a lot of skins. That is a lot of good stuff in Apex Legends. So make sure to follow us and just comment and be involved in the community. I think one comment will qualify you for being randomly chosen, and that would be a really fun text message DM to receive. All right, guys, it's been a fantastic time here hanging out with you all. We've got Americas coming up in just a couple hours to see that rivalry, but as it stands for EMEA, Empire has reclaimed the throne. Exciting to see where Arctic and that team will flow from. From everybody on broadcast, myself, Rayday, Onset, Gaskin, our team behind the scenes in Esports, Engine, Respawn, and EA, we remind you to never give up, never stop gaming, and we will see you all for the Americas.
Because they told me they were going to announce it in the EMEA broadcast.
Output as well when you get to have Sheila.
It might just be
And a chance.
Tell why these the reason why the entire series.
Oh my god, I literally just opened your stream!
Barely missed out. They certainly earned some great points today.
Play Apex, thank you for the raid! I was just going over the recap in between games. Hi! Thank you so